It's time for Ask the Tech Guys. I'm Leo Laporte. Coming up, Scott Wilkinson joins us with his picks for the best TVs for next week's Super Bowl.
And I'm Mikah. Sargent. Alex Lindsay shares a video that shows us how we can design our own images using Midjourney.
And which router is the right router for your new fiber optic connection? All that and more coming up next on Ask the Tech Guys.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is Ask the Tech Guys with Mikah Sargent and Leo Laporte. Episode 1960, recorded Sunday, February 5th, 2023. Quibbles and Bits. Ask the Tech Guys is brought to you by Fastmail. Reclaim your privacy, boost productivity, and make email yours with Fastmail. Try it free for 30 days at fastmail.com/twit. Fastmail's also giving TWiT listeners a 15% discount on the first year when you sign up today. And by 8 Sleep. Good sleep is the ultimate game changer. And the pod cover, well, that's the ultimate sleep machine. Go to 8sleep.com/twit to check out the pod cover and save $150 at checkout. 8 Sleep currently ships within the U.S., Canada, the U.K., and select countries in the EU and Australia. Thanks for listening to this show as an ad-supported network. We are always looking for new partners with products and services that will benefit our qualified audience. Are you ready to grow your business? Reach out to advertise at twit.tv and launch your campaign now. Well, hey, how are you today? It's time once again for Ask the Tech Guys, the sequel to the Tech Guys show.
Yes.
In which I, Leo Laporte,
And I, Mikah Sargent.
answer your questions at calls.twit.tv or email questions at askthetechguys@twit.tv. We're doing it via Zoom now, not by phone anymore. So calls.twit.tv. Call. One.
Like the verb.
Your call.
You call.
Call. It's a verb. Call. It's a, what do they call that when you order somebody to do that? It's an emphatic.
Oh, yeah.
No,
Not
there's a
interrogative,
Latin.
that's for sure.
Latin.
Oh, yes, there is.
It's the vocative or the, anyway.
Yeah, something.
So,
Someone will tell us.
did you see the balloon?
Ooh, it was purple, and when I sucked in some of the air from it, it made my voice go
Saturday
higher.
Night Live had a very funny Chinese balloon skit, which a guy in a giant outfit is floating around. But seriously, I was watching this with interest all week and kind of glad I didn't have any shows because my initial reaction is, it's a weather balloon. Come on. What are you getting all head up about? And then, our National Intelligence Agency said, no, this is a surveillance balloon from China. Thing is, a balloon, while they have in the past been used for surveillance, is a somewhat limited surveillance tool because you can't steer it unless it's got propellers like a dirigible. And this wasn't that. All you could do is go up and down and choose, I guess, a wind current that's appropriate to the rough direction you want to go. But if you're launching it from China, you it's a kind of a guessing game to get it to where you want it to be.
A little bit like Plinko.
Yeah.
Spotted Plinko.
The balloon was huge, 60,000 feet up, which is, more than 10 miles, 12 miles up. You could still see it by the naked eye.
Wow.
Which means it was ginormous. They said that the thing hanging from it, the superstructure or the substructure of hardware hanging from it, was the length of 3 school buses.
Whoa. And
that presumably had whatever instruments was in there. Now, the Chinese have more than 26 satellites floating above us at all times, so they already have a pretty good picture of what's going on. There's the balloon. We did blow it up over North Carolina. It's in the water now, and frogmen. Do they still call them frogmen or frog people?
Wait, and China was okay with that?
No, China was very upset. But you know what? They have nothing to say about it because it's in our territorial airspace. Unlike a satellite or even, I guess the U-2 plane that Gary Powers is flying over Russia, the spy plane we used to fly, I think still do fly. I remember talking to a U-2 pilot. He was a listener to the show. That was in territorial airspace. So I guess airspace continues beyond 60,000 feet. But anyway, it was in our airspace, and of course we can shoot it down. It's a a violation of our sovereignty, as the president said. And he said, it was my idea to shoot it down. I'm glad he was. I thought of that.
Yeah.
I was going to.
No one thought of it.
Everybody in the country was going, why don't they shoot it down? Why don't they shoot it down? Finally, the Air Force said, well, we can't because it might hit somebody in the head.
There's video.
It's an amazing video of it being shot down. Yeah, the F-22 fighter Phantom flies up to it, launches a missile into the heart of the balloon and punctures it, which isn't probably that hard to do, and then it plummets to the earth. There it is. You can see the missile.
Wow.
And boom, pop it. Just pop it like a balloon in the air, and then the Phantom flies off. So we will recover it, and I think it'll be interesting to see whether it was just a weather balloon or if there had some surveillance in it. I think it's more, if anything, a provocation.
Okay.
It's a little China going,
Look what we can do.
But what I don't want to see us get into a war with China
over
even
balloon.
a provocation. It's like when the Russian MiGs, fly around our flyboys up there and go.
We were supposed to be meeting with them, and this happened right before that meeting was set to take
unfortunately,
place.
the Secretary of State decided not to meet with them. I think that's, I don't know, is that proportionate? I don't think that's proportionate. Anyway, it's not a political show, so we're not here to discuss the politics of it, but I think the technology of it is kind of interesting. I did see somebody on the news, one of the news channels say, you shoot that thing, it's going to hit the earth at 500 miles an hour. And I thought, wait a minute. This is, by the way, a good exercise for everyone to do when they're watching or reading news.
Wait a minute. Oh.
Wait a minute. Really? Isn't there such a thing as terminal velocity? When a human jumps out of an airplane, you reach, because of wind resistance, you reach a top speed of around, I think, 120, 130 miles an hour. Then your parachute opens, you slow down. But because of wind resistance, you can't get much faster than that. Now, I guess the bigger it is, you came up with the formula, didn't you?
I did have it, and then I removed it.
That's all right. We don't need the formula. There is a formula for this, but 500 seems a little. I'd like actually our chat room.
Yeah, because if we think about, a lot of people think if I throw a coin off the side of the Empire State Building, it's going to kill someone on the ground. No.
It hits terminal velocity.
Yes. And
well,
because
actually, it probably could.
What ends up happening.
Depends where it hits them. If it hit them in the eye.
No, because a penny is so small that the updrafts will actually reduce the amount of speed that it has. So by the time it hits the ground, it's
not. And I think if something is the size of 3 school buses, it's a lot of wind resistance. I don't know. And the balloon, forget it. That's not going 500 miles an hour. That thing's like a giant sail. It could go off back to China if it wanted to. Anyway, this is good. It's good to think, to use your brains, to use your noggin. Maybe it could be 500 miles an hour. But when you hear something like that,
wait a minute.
It's good to say, wait a minute. Have you ever had Facebook on your phone? That's a silly question.
Yeah.
So apparently, a former Facebook engineer, has admitted that, because I tell you what, when I took Facebook off my phone, my battery life went much better, right? And I've always told people this: take Facebook off your phone. And I mean, the reasonable assumption is Facebook is always calling home and getting information and stuff. Well, it turns out, according to an engineer who is I think testifying in a lawsuit, he's a former employee, Facebook secretly can drain your cell phone batteries and sometimes does so on purpose. The practice, now, you got to consider the source. It's from the New York Post, okay? So, but, I mean, this is actual testimony from a lawsuit, so you can verify the testimony. The practice known as negative testing allows tech companies to surreptitiously run down your battery in the name of testing.
Testing what?
Features or issues, such as how fast their app runs when the battery's low or how an image might load. This is according to a data scientist, George Hayward, who claims in Manhattan federal court in a lawsuit that he was fired last November for saying, I'm not going to do that. I ain't going to do that.
I've just turned off background app refresh on
well,
Facebook
maybe
properties.
Does that help? Yeah, I guess that would help. Unless
they're
they're negative, they're doing some negative testing on you. Now, not everybody, obviously. They probably do A/B testing. That's what they call A/B testing, where they do it to some people and see what happens. See if they hit the roof. Killing someone's cell phone battery, of course, is dangerous, especially, if you're
out and about.
And you're waiting for the babysitter might call and say, we've got to come home. Your kids are, climbing the furniture or something. The litigation filed against Meta says I was unlawfully fired, says Hayward, because I refused to do this test. And it turns out if you tell your boss, no, that's illegal, it doesn't go over very well. He'd been working at Facebook since October 2019.
Is that not retaliation? I guess that's what the lawsuit's about, right?
Well, that's why he's going to sue. And if it's true, and if he can prove this, I think he will win. He says he doesn't know how many people have been impacted by Facebook's negative testing, but believes the company engaged in the practice because he was given an internal training document titled, quote, How to Run Thoughtful Negative Tests, which included examples of such experiments being carried out. I've never seen a more horrible document in my career, he said. Unfortunately, the lawsuit had to be withdrawn. We saw the Post saw the documents, but because as many employers do, including us, by the way, remember this, Micah, they require you go to arbitration before you sue. Right. The lawsuit was withdrawn. They're going to go to arbitration. However, I'm glad the lawsuit was filed because we get to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that information is now available.
Jeez.
That's not great.
Jeez.
That makes me wonder, though, are they circumventing? Because many phones, including the iPhone, I can go into the battery section and look at what apps.
You would know.
So,
and I have to say, but this is, I don't know if they're still doing it. I do remember Facebook being one of the top apps for draining my battery. And when I removed Facebook, and this was years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, that my battery life definitely improved. Mm-hmm. So just, a thought.
Keep it in mind.
Keep it in mind. Earnings are in. We'll talk about it on TWiT later today. Amazon, better than expected revenue, but the stock went down because of fourth quarter guidance. You know what that means?
It means that they're preparing for headwinds, right?
Yeah, headwinds. Here come the headwinds. In fact, that's the term Mr. Tim Cook used when he was talking about Apple's.
When they missed
terrible quarter. He said, they got the headwinds right in the face.
Hate it when that happens.
Right. Boom. Elon Musk.
What is he doing now?
Found not liable. Remember when he tweeted, funding secured. We're going to take Tesla private at, I think, $4.20 a share. So he had some stupid marijuana joke in there. And he was being sued by shareholders who said, well, that cost us money when you said funding secured in a price. We all, I don't know what they did, stopped shorting it or whatever. The jury trial said, no, come on, you didn't lose any money. 9-person jury on Friday, 2 hours of deliberation, which is quick. It's like, takes you that long to fill out the form. Finding the investors who brought the class action suit failed to prove their claims against Elon or Tesla. He wasn't in the courtroom to hear the verdict, but he later tweeted, "The wisdom of the people has prevailed."
I swear to God.
All right. Twitter has done a good thing for itself for the Super Bowl they've got. So remember, the Super Bowl's next Sunday. Mm-hmm. Just a little programming note.
Oh, right.
We will be on Saturday next week.
Yes.
As will TWiT. Because I didn't want to make Micah. I know he's a huge football fan.
Big. Yeah. I mean, I got to see all the touchdowns. I got to see all the 10-yard passes.
I just watched for the commercials. But we didn't want to make Ant come in on Super Bowl Sunday. And also, it's hard to get TWiT together. You can't. It's hard to get a quorum.
Everybody else is doing things. I mean, even if you don't watch the Super Bowl, you usually get together with the folks you care about.
Yeah.
Some of the folks you care about, in a way.
Speaking of which, did you just see? Am I imagining that Scott Wilkinson just peeked over my shoulder? I think I saw that. We'll see Scott in just a little bit. But let me finish the thought. So Apple is sponsoring the halftime next week.
Yeah,
with
Apple
Rihanna
Music specifically.
And man, are they making? They put out a press release this week. They're going to have Rihanna everywhere. There's going to have all sorts of stuff. You could buy Rihanna's songs, Rihanna karaoke, Rihanna everything. because they spend probably, I don't know what it costs. I know a Super Bowl ad, 1 minute, costs $7 million.
Uh-huh.
What are you laughing at?
You keep calling her Rihanna, and it's Rihanna.
Are you sure?
I swear to God.
Are you sure?
Bad gal Riri, Rihanna.
Are you sure?
Okay, something's changed in my life.
I read something that said people mispronounce her name. It's Rihanna.
Oh, really?
Well, we'll
this
find
is news
out.
To me.
Will you look that up, Mr. Ant Pruitt?
Please do.
Our research staff is working on that.
Please,
Rihanna. Yes. Anyway, I won't say her name again because that's not the point. So Pepsi used to sponsor this, right? So instead, they are buying a $3 million Twitter takeover. That's cheaper than the halftime, I bet.
That's a good point, though. How to
yeah. And the theory is that Twitter, at least in years past, was Super Bowl's their Super Bowl, if you will. It's a big deal. Lots of people tweeting, I can't believe that the referees are, and so Anheuser-Busch, the beer companies, $2.4 million on takeover ads. So you're going to see Pepsi and Budweiser. Traditionally, big advertisers in the Super Bowl, they're going to Twitter and spending at least half what they would spend.
Leo, I have to officially apologize to you.
Is it Rihanna?
It is Rihanna.
See, I thought I've said Rihanna for years.
Yeah.
She's from the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you say it, man, Rihanna. But I recently read an article that said, it's actually Rihanna.
Yeah, she says, while many have referred to the star as Rihanna over the years, her name is actually pronounced Rihanna. Rihanna actually confirmed this in recent videos for Vogue, introducing herself to the camera. So thank you for the lesson today. I appreciate it.
And it's 50 cents. Okay?
Okay.
Say it clearly.
Oh, I thought you were saying I had to pay you 50 cents.
No.
You taught me.
His name.
50
People
cents.
say 50 cent. No. 50 cents.
And Little Jonathan.
And Little Jonathan. Master of Crunk.
Yeah. Mind blown. I'm sorry.
The old man got it right.
The old guy got it right.
All right. We're going to take some calls in just a little bit. Call.twit.tv. But I saw him. I swear to God, I'm not hallucinating. I think Scott Wilkinson is here. And because the Super Bowl is coming up. Whoa. Did you see that?
I keep seeing a flash.
Because the Super Bowl is coming up, I thought it'd be a good time to get Scott, our home theater guru, host of the fabulous Scott Wilkinson Show on YouTube, youtube.com/AVS Forum. I thought it'd be good to get Scott on the show today to tell us what TVs to buy for the Super Bowl. Hello, Scott.
Hello, Leo. Hey, Micah. How you guys doing?
So good to see you.
Great to see you. Hey,
great to see you, too.
I just want to say, we were talking before the show about this HBO show called The Last of Us, which is based on a video game, very, very popular PlayStation video game. And there have been 3 episodes so far. And I've been telling people, if you're going to watch this, watch it on the best screen you've got. Ideally, an OLED 4K HDR screen, because the cinematography is mind-bogglingly good.
I've been intending to watch it.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I just want to say that, Stanley Kubrick is famous for making every frame of his movies a painting. Barry Lyndon, for instance. Everything looks like a classic painting. This show is kind of like that. The lighting is stunning. They really take advantage of the 4K. So that's, if you're not a Super Bowl fan.
And HDR, I hope.
And HDR. Absolutely. There's a scene, I didn't notice it until the second episode. There's a scene where Joel goes to a ham radio operator to get some information. And, it's coming off a video game, which is also gorgeous, right? So they have to, there's a standard. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, this is lit like a Renaissance painting. This is stunning. And then I kind of started paying attention, and the whole thing is shot. It's gorgeous. In any event, 2 reasons you might want to get a nice new TV. That's one.
Indeed.
And then the Super Bowl is
the Super Bowl is the other one.
Is this a good time to buy a new TV?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're going to get the best prices of the yearly cycle of TVs coming and going. In many cases, it's as good as Black Friday. In some cases, it's even a little better. But you have to keep in mind that TV margins, the profit that retailers make selling TVs are razor thin already. So, are you going to get much discount? Yes, because they're trying to get rid of them for the next year's models. I sent you actually a PDF with a list. I don't know if you got that or not.
Oh, I'll check. Good.
But you can put it up in the show notes if you want.
Okay.
I listed a number of TV sales discounts that I found, some of which are in the 20 to 30% range, some in the 30 to 40% range, a few that are even over 40%.
That's a big discount.
It is. It really is.
Now, we've
Exactly.
said this before, but one of the reasons is because this is last year's model, right? They're going to have new
These
models.
are all 2022s.
Yeah.
And
But
in some
is
cases,
that a bad thing?
2021s.
Oh.
No, not a bad thing at all. Not a bad thing at all. Generally speaking, TV evolution is just that, evolution, not revolution. Unlike in 2022 at CES, I told you about the QD OLED. That was the first big improvement in display technology in many years.
Can we buy those now?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, they're on sale.
Okay. As with any new thing, they're going to be more expensive than the old thing.
Right.
Correct. And next year, there will be the second generation.
Yeah.
Or rather, this year.
Yeah.
But for example, on Amazon, the Samsung 65-inch S95B, which is their QD OLED, their larger QD OLED, is selling for $17.98, down from $29.98.
Wow.
That's a 40% drop. So that's pretty significant if you ask me.
You do this every year. This is a spreadsheet. Let me pull it up so I can show everybody.
Exactly.
You take this seriously. Here's the spreadsheet.
I do.
And green means 40% or higher. So that is Best Buy and Amazon have those massive discounts.
Yep.
Now, some people would prefer to buy at Best Buy because they can pick it up.
Right.
Is it okay to ship a fancy TV like that?
You know, I personally feel the same as those other folks that say I'd rather pick up the TV and bring it home because shipping, I'm sure shipping for the most part is fine, but this is a big flat piece of glass. 65 inches.
Good way to put it. Yeah.
And it's there are bound to be some cases where it's going to get broken.
I don't know if they still offer this. I bought the last couple of TVs on Amazon. And they offered something called white glove service, where they would come, they would unbox it, they would set it up, and I always paid for that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're looking at me bad, but because then, if there's anything wrong with it, they're still there.
Right.
And I can say to them, take it back.
Right. Right.
I mean,
exactly so.
I mean, I could obviously unbox it and all that. The other thing is I don't want the box. So
well, you don't want the box.
They take the box back too.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I am no longer at an age when I can pull out a 65-inch TV out of a box by myself.
Oh, I could. I'm massively strong.
You're massively
I've been doing
strong.
Ant's push-ups. That's why Ant looks
Okay, well, there you go.
He says, I don't need no guys in here to lift my TV. I can lift it with one finger. No, it's true. It's really nice to have those guys do it. And if they break it, they bought it. I don't have to worry.
It's on them, man. Yeah, exactly right.
So,
exactly
but
right.
I have had good experiences. Both times the TV was fine, set up fine, but I agree with you. It's a little scary anyway, if not nothing else.
It is a little scary. Yeah. I like to pick it up myself.
What do you think the best deal? I'm seeing a 77-inch OLED from LG, which is the one we like, right?
LG OLEDs are great, but I think you're probably looking at, it's not OLED, it's QNED.
QNED.
Oh no, there is a 77 OLED.
$2,500. Now, if you're willing to go with the QNED,
what does N stand for? Is that nano?
The N stands for nanotube. It's basically a technology that LG developed that uses nanoparticles to absorb certain frequencies of light so that you get a purer red, green, and blue.
But it's still LCD.
Correct.
So this is the important thing to understand about any flat screen.
Okay.
There's really only two technologies now that plasma's gone. One is LCD.
Correct.
And one is OLED. OLED is direct view.
Correct.
LCD has a backlight with a shutter, and the backlight is what they talk about with the QNED and the LED and all that stuff. It's just different kinds of backlights, right?
Correct. LCD TV is called a transmissive display because light is passing through little tiny shutters. OLED or OLED is called an emissive display because the little pixels are emitting light directly.
Yeah.
So yes, the 77-inch OLED, the 77C2.
That's the one I would get, I think. Yes.
I agree with you. $2,500 down from $3,500,
Yeah.
almost 30% off.
It's twice as much as a QNED, but
Correct.
but it's a better screen, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That OLED is the best display technology, in my opinion. The only thing it doesn't have that LCD has over it is brightness.
Right.
So if you need something really bright in a really bright room, then an one of the LCD technologies, QLED, QNED, blah blah blah, will serve you well. But when you get off axis, and this is important for a Super Bowl application in particular, because you'll have a lot of people around, right, for presumably a party, and if they're off axis, the TV doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
Whereas with OLED, you can be anywhere, and the picture looks just as good.
Of course, if you have a 77-inch TV, you can get a lot of people right in front of it. I mean,
That's true.
It's a big
Yes,
enough TV.
Yep.
But that's a good point.
Is a projector a good idea around this time?
Very glad you asked that, Micah.
Well, it's like I had it planned, but I didn't.
Now, there's a new type of a projector, generally speaking, you want in a dark room. But there's a new type of projector, not so new, but it's gaining a lot of popularity, called ultra short throw, or UST. And that is meant to be a replacement for a flat panel TV. And so you put this projector on a tabletop, a credenza or something very near the wall, and it shoots up at a steep angle, the light, and fills a really big screen. Now, on the last page of this spreadsheet that I have sent you...
I was only looking at the first page.
Oh, no.
It goes on and on
I
and
sent
on.
you a bunch of information.
Scott, you do this every year. This must take you days to compile.
Yeah, it's. I know where to look.
Oh, you do. So this is the last page.
The last page
Here's
is
an ultra short throw, a bunch of ultra short throw projectors from BenQ,
That's right.
Epson, and Hisense, and 4Movie. Which brand do you like?
Well, I
have a Hisense, which I really like.
which is really good.
Yeah.
Hisense is well regarded in the UST projector market.
You've seen our Hisense, haven't you, Micah? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like 100 inches. It's big.
Yeah, exactly. Now, at the most recent UST projector shootout done by Projector Central, the BenQ V7050i won for best single laser. Now, all of these UST projectors use lasers as their light source. And some of them use a single laser that then gets split into red, green, and blue. The laser is blue, and then it goes through a color wheel or some other thing to get red and green out of it. So a single laser projector, which is less expensive, the BenQ won the top prize for single laser. The 4Movie theater, which I had never heard of before,
Me neither. Yeah.
shootout,
Yeah.
that won the triple laser.
Is that red, green, and blue, the three lasers?
Correct.
Okay. So they don't need
Exactly
the wheel.
right.
They have.
Correct.
Weirdly enough, Hisense, I think, is two lasers.
Two lasers, correct. Red and blue, and then they derive green out of that.
Okay. But three would be better?
Yes, absolutely. 3 discrete red, green, and blue lasers is the best.
And
no
the
question
most
about
expensive.
It. And the most expensive, exactly.
But I have to say,
so.
the prices have dropped dramatically. This Hisense was $10,000 4 or 5 years ago.
Exactly. And now look at it. We're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000.
You do need a screen. Does it include these
Correct.
always? Yeah, it says screen included on these. Sometimes.
In some of them. Very
all
few
of
of them, actually.
Oh.
A few of the Hisenses.
That's how they
you
get
can
the price down.
Exactly. And with a few of the Hisenses, it includes a screen.
You need a special screen. You can't
correct.
do ultra short throw with a normal screen or against the
Or
wall.
on the wall. Some
you need
people
a
go,
special
I'll just
screen with Fresnel lenses that takes the thing coming in at an angle and bends it so
bounces
it comes out
it back
at you.
out.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And Epson will sell you one
Yeah.
A 100-inch screen for $2,000.
Oh, okay. So consider that. Yes.
Or a 120-inch screen for $3,000.
I will add a caveat about these projectors because they're ultra short throw. It's tricky to avoid. What do they call that when the perspective you get keystoning? It's tricky.
Well,
you have to very carefully adjust both the screen. You can't move the projector or you're going to have problems. So
that's true.
It's very
now they are.
finicky.
It's a little finicky. They are designed with that in mind. The designers know that that's going to happen.
Mine isn't. I have to adjust it all the time. So
really?
I guess it's an older one. There's a button you push and it says, because I know on regular projectors, you could say, unkeystone that and it'll fix it.
Right.
But on the short throw, I mean, I had to, you have to, and the screen we had little cranks that you would adjust to get the screen torqued. And that's a lot of work to get it set up.
That's an older system.
Okay, they've gotten better.
They've improved it since then.
All right.
But you're right. It is a consideration.
It seemed to me more finicky than a normal projector. The short throws are a little tricky. Yeah, okay.
It is. I agree. And it doesn't get as bright as a flat panel.
Yeah, but we're fine. We have it in our great room. And we're going to watch the Super Bowl on it. We're going to have people over and watch the Super Bowl on it. And, that means there's daylight in there and stuff, but it's fine. I admit when I want to watch a great show like The Last of Us in HDR, I'll be tempted with the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl is going to be broadcast on Fox. Not broadcast. I shouldn't say that. It will be streamed on Fox in 4K HDR. And so I have YouTube TV. I could watch the 4K HDR version. It's upscaled, but still, it looks very
I'm
good.
sure it looks great.
And
but
you don't
it won't
see
look
that on the projector. You just don't see that. Yeah.
Correct. Now, these projectors that I've listed here all do HDR to one degree or another. Projectors can't do it as well as flat panels because they don't get as bright. Yeah. And the 4-movie theater, as it's called, is the only one that I know of that's currently available that does Dolby Vision HDR. So that, to me, is a kind of a big deal. There are a couple of others that have Dolby Vision in beta, but they're not implemented yet.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put this 4-page spreadsheet, this amazing document up on our show notes. We'll put a link to that. Right, John Ashley? We're going to, we'll be able to get a link to that. So it's already there?
It's already there. I'll quickly tell you that the other pages, I just did a survey of LG, Samsung, and Sony on their own websites of what their TVs are selling for now versus the list price, MSRP, and including in the case of LG and Samsung, some of their UST projectors, because LG and Samsung both do UST projectors. The Samsungs, they're only 14% off or 7% off. There's a couple of LGs that are reasonable, good discounts. So,
if I were going to be buying one of these for you, Scott,
yes,
and I'm writing the check, which one would you pick?
I would pick a Samsung. Well, actually, no, I wouldn't pick a Samsung QOLED because it doesn't do Dolby Vision. Samsung does not do Dolby Vision, period.
That's one of the HDR technologies. There are
correct.
3 or maybe
I would probably, if you were going to buy me one of these, I'd probably go for the 77C2 OLED from LG.
Yep. Boy, I'm so happy. My LG OLED is several years old. You calibrated it back in the day, so it's 5 or 6 years old, maybe more. Yeah. And it's held up beautifully. And like I said, it looks great. I watched many of the playoff games in 4K HDR. And even though it's upscaled to 1080p, it really looks great. And Rihanna will be in 4K as well. So that's
and of course, I will be recording the Super Bowl
and watching the Puppy Bowl. I know.
And watching the Puppy Bowl, and then when I watch the Super Bowl, I'm going to fast forward through the game because I couldn't care about the game any less than I do.
I have to watch the game.
Why?
Because my mom's team is playing.
KC.
Yeah.
KC.
We're from
okay. Well, there is family loyalty then. Yeah. But I'm just going to watch the commercials and the halftime show.
Nice.
That's all I care about.
Nice.
Otherwise, it's Puppy Bowl for me.
I think the commercials. I'll be interested. I think the commercials have gone downhill
I
the
agree.
last few years.
I agree.
They might very well. And if Pepsi and, as you said before, Pepsi and who else were not...
Budweiser's gone.
Budweiser's not even going to be on the commercials.
I used to love those. Maybe they will buy those commercials. I don't know if the Twitter... Pepsi's just not buying the halftime. I don't know if the Twitter takeover is exclusive of the Super Bowl.
Right.
But those remember the Clydesdale commercials?
Oh, yeah, those were great.
The dog would run out. Those
so
are tearjerkers. I love those. So we'll see. I mean, I think a lot of companies are not spending the ad money that they used to.
Sorry, a really good question in the chat that maybe you addressed, but is there a way to watch the game at anything higher than 30 frames per second? Because Joe's saying, I've got cable and I've got an OTA antenna, but I can't get higher than 30 frames per second.
Not OTA, you can't.
No,
Over the air.
Yes, thank you.
If you want higher quality, you'd have to streaming.
Now, the question, Matt, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to. Is Fox going to be streaming it at 60?
I am looking at an article now from Consumer Reports, how to watch the Super Bowl in 4K.
Yeah.
And I don't see the frame rate, which tells me it's probably 30.
It's probably 30.
30 is a traditional TV frame rate. We've all gotten used to 60 frames progressive because 30 is often interlaced. So now at least it's progressive. 30 progressive's better than 30 interlaced. 60 progressive would be even better. And
better.
Many games are 120 frames per second, and that's
you mean video games?
Yeah, video games, not football games. So
and variable frame rate in video games too, which is really nice.
Yeah. They don't say what I'm looking at the article, and I don't see the.
That's interesting.
Some of the cameras shoot at higher frame rates.
That does make a difference in how it looks.
They don't absolutely, and it's important. High frame rate is a whole area of discussion we could go into, but it's really good for sports because things are moving fast. You know, that ball is flying through the air, and people are running around, and at 30 or 30 frames per second, you know, there's some motion blur.
Consumer Reports quotes Michael Davies, who is a senior vice president of field operations at Fox Sports.
Yeah. He
says because of bandwidth constraints, and I think they don't say this, but truck constraints.
Yes.
They don't. Also, they aren't going to shoot it in 4K. They'll shoot in HD.
What does truck constraint mean? You mean
they have to have at these stadiums in Glendale, for instance, they don't have a control room, so they bring out a big trailer truck,
a semi-truck, or true semi-truck, more than one typically.
Yeah, with the switchers in it. That's where the directors sit and all those people.
And the audio mixers and everybody, yeah.
And there are only a handful of 4K capable trucks. Most of these. So I think we're getting there. We're getting there. Also, Davies says because the show is so large with more than 100 camera sources, some of them are shooting at higher frame rates. But what they do
for slow-mo, for
replay. So they use 1080p as the standard. Shooting in both 4K and a high frame rates require a lot of bandwidth.
Yep.
For sports, high frame rates, which can reduce blurring during fast-moving action, as you said, and special effects are very important. But I don't understand what he means here when he says, so shooting in HD and then upscaling is a good compromise. I don't know if they're shooting in high frame rate. He says Fox will have some 4K, even a few 8K cameras shooting, but they'll be used so that they can pan within the frame to zoom in at high. And those are high frame rate. He says this allows us to digitally zoom. This is from Consumer Reports again. To digitally zoom the picture for shots of whether a foot was in or out or whether a ball was caught. So when you see those instant replays and they can really zoom in, that's because they're shooting them at higher frame rates and higher resolution.
And so it's a digital zoom, which you normally want to avoid.
Yeah.
But in this case, since they're only broadcast, whether taking a 1080p ultimately and then converting that for broadcast, they can digitally zoom in and not lose anything.
There is the upper Skycam is 4K. I guess they have an upper and a lower Skycam now.
Well, some of us.
And there, the pylon cameras they put at the end zone. There's these orange pylons on each end of the end zone. Yeah. So there's 4 of them total. Those contain 180-degree field of view 4K cameras.
Wow.
And we've seen these pylon shots. Sometimes it's really important to determine whether something was a touchdown or not.
Can you imagine the file sizes of
and they're wireless. They have to stream it, which is why you never see the pylon camera live.
Right.
In my
they don't use it as part of
guess.
the shot.
Yeah, it's shooting, and then they go quick. Look at that. Did you see how
Bring
my
that in,
frame
bring that
rate
in.
stopped there? Quick. Let's get that in, and then they can show it in instant replay.
Right. Right.
So they're shooting it in an HDR format called HLG.
Correct, which is the standard for live broadcast.
And then they'll turn it into HDR10.
Right.
Because most TVs and streamers, Dolby Vision would be preferable, but a lot of them don't support, including...
Don't support it.
I think,
right.
was it Samsung that just refused to support it?
Samsung refuses to support
expensive.
Dolby Vision.
So HDR10...
Yeah, they don't want to pay the licensing fee. Exactly, yeah.
And if you have the Fox Sports app or the Fox Now app, it's also an HDR10.
Mm-hmm.
Over the air, unlikely.
Unlikely.
Yeah.
Although, ATSC 3.0, the new over-the-air standard, is gaining in market share. There's more markets now that have it, and it can do 4K and HDR of one sort or another. So we may very well see this over-the-air in the next year or two.
Yeah. Mr. Scott Wilkinson is the greatest. He is our home theater geek. We're glad we could get you on today for the Super Bowl next week. You can watch his show at on YouTube, the AVS Forum podcast at youtube.com/AVS Forum. Where are you going to put this spreadsheet up in an article somewhere, or is it just for us?
It's at the moment it's just for you. I'm thinking about putting it up on AVS Forum too, but I haven't actually made that arrangement yet. It's really for you, man.
God bless you. 5 pages. I undercounted. 5 pages. It's a spreadsheet that goes on and on and on.
I got carried away. What can I tell you?
No, I'm not complaining. I'm
great.
praising.
Yeah.
I am here to praise you. Color coded for the best discounts. Green is the highest. Yellow, then orange.
Yep.
And you could choose by manufacturer and
I've got
retailer and price.
a tiny TV in my living room, so I'm going to have to hit this list.
You
to
should have a
see.
nice TV.
You should have a nice TV, Micah. Absolutely.
When you say tiny, is it like this big?
It's just a little bit bigger than this.
This is 42, I think. Yeah.
I didn't even include, by the way, I didn't even
4K
include
though,
42s or 48s in this list because the Super Bowl, you want a big TV. Also, very important to note, these TVs, you can get a 55, 65, 75-inch TV for well under $1,000, but it's not going to be very good. I want you to buy, if you're going to spend the money, spend a little more money, get a good TV that's going to last you a while and look really good on all kinds of content. And that's why I focused on not the super cheapest you can get.
Yeah,
I
that's
agree.
good.
And by the way, I think that's why shows like The Last of Us now are starting to look better and better because cinematographers and producers and directors realize, hey, there's people out there with good TVs. We can make it look as good, if not better, than in the movie theater.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you for the recommendation for that show. I'm going to start watching.
It's a little violent, Scott.
Oh,
Just a word.
okay.
There's zombies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good warning.
It's not the puppy bowl.
I'm not in. It's not the puppy bowl. No.
Scott Wilkinson, thank you, Scott. Got to get that laugh out of him at least once before we go.
All right,
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, you guys. See you later.
Ask the Tech Guys brought to you this week by my email provider. Love my fast mail. The more I use it, the more I love it. Look at free email, and I know a lot of you use free email, isn't free. You have to pay for it. It costs some money. How do you pay for it? Privacy. You give up your privacy just a little bit for free email. I think, in my opinion, if email is important to you, I've said this so many times, if email is important to you, you should pay for it. You want to be the customer, not the product. And that's why I've been using Fastmail for more than a decade. And with Fastmail, your data stays your data. No ads, no snooping. They have features that protect you. They prioritize your privacy. And I know people are concerned about this. All your data is stored in the U.S. Fastmail is fully GDPR compliant. So your privacy really is protected. But they go the extra step. They do some amazing things. For instance, they offer something called masked email. To protect your personal data, it lets you create multiple addresses. So when you sign up for a website, you can use a unique address that only you know, only you use, that will let you know if that website is selling your email. Isn't that nice? You can customize your workflow. So with Fastmail, of course, you can continue to use whatever client you're using. It's true, real IMAP, but it has features that Google's Gmail, for instance, which is not true IMAP offer, something called tags. So you can use IMAP's folders, but you can also use Gmail-style tags to sort your mail. You can use it with any email client, Apple's Mail, Outlook, of course. Many people use it with Thunderbird. It works with all of those, but they also have a great webmail interface. I would say one of the best webmail interfaces. You can customize with colors and custom swipes. They've got night mode, everything you'd want in a webmail interface. And they have great apps for iOS and Android. I stopped using third-party apps for email. I use Fastmail's app on my phone. It works so well. You can organize your inbox with scheduled send, snooze, folders, labels, search bar. You can keep track of all the important details in your life with their powerful sidebar. And if you're worried about Google snooping on you, this is the first step in de-Googleizing. Mm-hmm. I also use Fastmail's calendars and address book. They use standard CalDAV and CardDAV. So you can use it with any contact manager, any calendar, iOS, Android, Mac, Windows, Linux. I don't have to sync with Google anymore. I use Fastmail to store all of that information. There's another nice feature to that. If you use Fastmail for your contacts, there's a great filter that I set up that says, if somebody is in my contact list, don't throw that in the spam. I want that in my inbox. I can even filter more beyond that. The fact the filters are really amazing. You'll love the ability to create multiple email addresses. That works with password managers like our sponsor Bitwarden and 1Password, which means you can create not only a unique password for every site, which you should be doing, but a unique email for every site. Store it in your password manager. You'll never forget it, but the bad guys will never guess it. Fastmail is amazing. A U.S.-based support team. They're email experts. They really know what they're doing, and they're always within reach because, again, you're the customer, not the product. I love Fastmail. They care about your privacy. More than that, they care about email. In fact, they contribute back. They use an open source email server called Cyrus. They use open source technologies like Civ, which is an amazing scripting language for email sorting. And they contribute back. They've done a lot of work on authentication. With Fastmail, your email authentication is easy. I have more than a dozen domains registered with Fastmail, all for one account, one price. I didn't pay extra for this. And that means I can have fully authenticated email in and out all through Fastmail. Fastmail's moving email forward with new internet standards, open source innovations that power other email services. Don't get left behind by substandard email providers. If you care about email, pay for it as little as $3 a month. I just signed up again for another 3 years. I do it 3 years at a time because I'm so committed to Fastmail. Reclaim your privacy, boost productivity, make email yours with Fastmail. Try it free for 30 days at fastmail.com/twit. I've been recommending this for years. So glad to have them as a sponsor. Please help us by using that address so they know, oh, yeah, we're getting people from watching Ask the Tech Guys. Fastmail.com/twit. You'll get a 15% discount on the first year when you sign up today. At least do yourself a favor. Try it. In fact, I did that. Toe in. I didn't get rid of my other accounts.
Right.
I slowly moved over. But as soon as I gained confidence, and I did, that Fastmail was far superior to anything else, I've moved everything over there, including most recently my calendar and my contact. I don't use Google anymore for that. Fastmail. You will love it. Fastmail.com/twit. Use that address so you get that 15% discount on the first year. Thank you, Fastmail, for supporting Ask the Tech Guys. Micah Sargent, do you think we should take some calls?
We should.
There have been some very, very patient people out there. Let me see who's had their hand up. I love it because I could see your videos, some of you, and some of you are making faces saying, pick me. I want to see that. No, I'm going to go to Tom. I won't make you do that. I'm going to go to Tom. Let me move you into the on-air room. You're going to see, I think you're going to see an invite. And when you see it, unmute and say, hello, Tom. Your microphone is still muted. Your camera.
Hello.
There we go. Hey.
Hi, Micah. Hi,
Hello,
Leo.
Tom.
Hey, Tom, where are you calling from?
I live in Chatham, Illinois. That's just south of Springfield.
Nice. Home of the Simpsons. No.
No, it's not. I don't think that's the right.
It's a different Springfield.
I think that's Missouri.
I
Springfield,
don't,
Missouri.
I think it's none of the above. I think Matt Groening says
Yeah,
it's
like
not.
the mixture.
Oh, it could be,
of all
yeah.
of it.
Yeah. So what can we do for you, Tom?
Well, it's my wife, Leo.
We all got
I got
one. Okay.
her iPhone SE. I can't back it up. No, it won't back up. It says it's not enough space in the iCloud, and there's nothing in the iCloud. It's an SE. It's a second generation SE.
Yeah.
There may
And
be other
it's-
stuff in there.
So what it's sounding like, you
Well-
said there's nothing on the phone, right? You're saying, why won't it back
No,
up
well,
if I
there's-
don't have anything? Go ahead.
The only thing is I have a 10R here too.
Mhm.
A 10. You have had for years.
Do you
I've
use the
never
same?
had trouble back.
Do you use the same iCloud account or different ones?
No.
So iCloud gives you how much? What? 5 gigs
5
free storage.
default.
Yeah.
And they do that because there's no way you can survive with 5 gigs. So you'll be paying for more no matter what, right?
Yes.
If you want to back
Well,
up.
this all I back up is we don't back up photos. I have another way to do
You
that.
can look, by the way, on the phone and see what's in your iCloud. I think that might. Why don't you want to
Right.
show them how to do that?
That was going to be the next thing here.
I know how to do it.
Oh,
but-
okay.
Okay,
and
so
I've never had trouble with this. Only takes 3 gigs to load.
It
back.
should show you,
Yeah.
though, how much is used, what's using it, and why it won't let you back up anymore. It also, you should know this, it doesn't just keep one copy of the 3 gigs.
that is where we were going. Yes.
There's nothing in there right now at all. It's empty.
Well, then they're liars.
The thing is, I don't know why this should not take any more than 3 gigs to load. Let me show. I can show you if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd love to see the screen so we
Here,
can
I'll
see if
show
we're
you
looking
what
at
I'm
the same
going to look
screen.
at here. I'm going to go to iCloud, iCloud Drive. No, I'm sorry, iCloud Backup.
Uh-huh.
And let me look at the.
And she
first of all,
has her own account. It's not a family account. It's not a shared account
no,
with anybody else.
no, this is a separate. Now you see
Wow,
how much
yeah,
is in
there's
there?
nothing there.
Only 345K of 5 gigabytes. Well, you say it's 3 gigs. Apple's telling you, okay, it's 3 gigs for the first backup, but if you're going to back it up some more, it's going to be more. I think that's very annoying.
Here, I'm doing a backup now. You'll see what it
And it
says.
It's
starts
gonna-
to
it's gonna-
load,
It's going to say it's too
and then
much.
it'll say, I can't back
Can't
up.
go on. It's
Okay,
too much.
What is it? What are we?
Oh,
what are we
look at
reading
that.
here? This iPhone can. You'll have to read it to us because it's a little off the screen there.
Yeah,
It says this iPhone cannot be backed up because there's not enough storage in iCloud available.
Okay,
But it's all available.
yeah. So here's what we're going to do next. Together, we are going to tap on. We're going to go back to the main settings screen,
Yes.
and then you're going to tap on General, and then
Yes.
from there you're going to tap on iPhone Storage.
Okay.
And then you're going to let that load for a second. It takes a second to load up. And when you do, we'll see right there at the top, it shows iPhone storage and it shows how much space is being taken up. Now, you may have thought that, there's not a whole lot on this phone or there isn't anything that we need to worry about here. But when that loads, that might give us a better impression that, maybe there was an app that you were using, maybe a podcast app. Okay, so how much is that? 29.6 gigabytes.
29. It says 29.6, but I've looked in the other spot where you can turn on or off what's going to be backed up.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's turned off except for calendar. I'd have to look again. I don't remember. There's something goofy going on here with this particular phone that I haven't. We have a bunch of iCloud phone devices in the family and everything,
Uh-huh.
and I've always been able to get people's phones to back up. Except this is the first time I've had trouble.
So here's what I'm going to suggest to you.
Yes.
I am going to suggest that for one time, you will, on this phone with this iCloud account, go ahead and pay and bear with me here.
99 cents.
99 cents.
99 cents.
Yeah.
To bump
month.
up the storage temporarily, do your backup,
And
and
then-
then cancel it. Because what I'm thinking is happening here is it's looking at what it thinks it should back up, and it's going, that's too much. I can't back it
But
up.
it's wrong.
But it's wrong. And then when you get the backup, then you can do what you were just talking about, where you say, okay, actually, don't back up this, don't back up this, don't back up this, just back up these 3 or 4 things. And then from that point on, you'll know that it's not taking up more than the 5 gigs that's free. So yes, it stinks. You're going to have to pay the 99 cents to temporarily add to it, but At that point, then you'll at least get to do that initial backup and say, actually, I don't need you backing up all this extra stuff. I just want these things. Because that's where we're having an issue is there's no way for you to say, yes, please back up this. No, don't back up that, because it won't even do the initial backup in the first place.
Yeah. And I'm not opposed to moving up to one tier, but I just, it's funny because she has an iPad too. We both have iPads.
Mm-hmm.
The iPad takes about the same amount, 3 gig, and it will back up to her.
Oh, it will?
No, it will back up to her iCloud account, but then I delete it. But then I'm afraid, I thought maybe you were going to tell me I had to reset this to factory.
No, that's...
And then I'd lose my contacts and everything.
Yeah, no, that is the thing that if you call the wrong people, they'll tell you to do. But we're the right people to call.
Yeah. Oh, no, I wouldn't do that. But
obviously, there's more on that phone than it says.
Yes, that's what it boils down to.
You know what? I just noticed there's Facebook Messenger was turned on. I'll bet maybe that's sucking up a lot of
it could
data.
I mean, there's any number of things. If you give that phone a chance to load and you look, and so whenever we went to settings, we went to general, we went to iPhone storage, and you give it a chance to load, look through that list and it'll show, photos has this much space, music. There are some of those services that will be part of that iCloud backup. It could be that at some point someone sent your wife a long video or photos in the Messages app.
It doesn't know.
It doesn't know exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's just going, I want to be able to back up the whole thing.
Now,
and I can't with just a 5
What
gigs.
happened? We used to use iTunes and back up to the computer.
Yes.
Do you have a Mac?
No longer.
No
It
longer.
went out. I had a 2012. I got rid of it. I've got an HP laptop and I've got Linux on it because it's old too. And I have a Chromebook.
Okay, so I don't think Linux or Chromebooks will allow you to back
unfortunately,
up.
Linux won't.
Windows
But a lot
would.
of things I can't do.
Windows would, but not. So, because you get iMazing for Windows or Mac and use it for a backup. That was the old way. We used to always back up. And Apple, Apple decided at some point that ARPU was the most important thing in their business. Average revenue per user. And how do you get more revenue per user? You start charging for things like iCloud.
Every single month.
And so I think they decided that, they probably had a good rationalization like, people never back up to their computer, and when they do, they always have trouble and so forth. But I remember for years, that's how we would back up our devices. Started with the iPod, then the iPhone. So, yeah, if you had a Mac, you could still do that, and probably be a good idea to do that. It'd certainly be more economical to do that. But given that
I no longer have a need for a fancier computer like that. I'm retired.
I'm not knocking it.
That
sounds
totally
great.
fine.
I would just say you're going to have to pay that 99 cents.
Yep.
Well,
There
that's
is
okay.
another thing to know, and I'm not going to guarantee this, but it has been observed by many that even if you cut back the storage, Apple might threaten to delete that backup, but they don't. So you probably could pay 99 cents, back it up,
and then
stop
keep it
paying,
as it is.
and it would still be there for a little while. I'm not going to guarantee it.
Right.
I think it's worth the 99 cents.
Of course, it's annoying to get that prompt. So, but
I pay the $10 a month for the Apple One subscription.
I've got a family
to get all that stuff, and you get a family get 2 terabytes or 1? I can't remember. It's a lot of storage. Yeah. So, but that's to each his own.
One final question. Now, her iPad does back up. Okay. There's not enough room for the phone and the iPad to back up. So we normally don't back up the iPad at all because she just uses it for general stuff. But her contact list is in there. And if I ever reset the phone, is there a way to get the contact list from the iPad
it should be backing up, and you turn that on to iCloud.
Yep.
So that's separate, although it does count against, and this may be what's going on, it does count against your total cloud storage. But turn on the contacts backup, absolutely, and the calendar backup to iCloud. That's the easiest thing to do. And then if you lose both devices, you still have a copy of your calendar and your contacts.
So
I can get the contacts back. I'm sorry, from the iCloud or the iPad back up to the iPhone.
It's as long as you're on the same account. Yep.
And we'll include a link in the show notes. There's a support guide that shows you how to export all of your contacts using iCloud.com, the actual website. So you don't even have to be on the iPad or the iPhone. You can export it as this kind of backup that will be able to open on any contacts app because it's called vCard. It's a format that's So we'll include that in the show notes. You can head there to that Apple support page, and it'll show you how. And then you might want to do that once every 4 or 5 months or so.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank
All
you
right.
for the call, Tom.
Yeah, great
Thank you very
questions.
much.
All right.
Absolutely.
All the
Have a good
best to our friends in Illinois. I'm going to move him into the special post-air room where you can hang out with other post-air people. Coming up in a little bit, Alex Lindsay has come through.
Yay!
He has made a video for us. He's going to show us how to use one of these artificial intelligent image generators to create amazing images. He likes, and I think a lot of people agree, something called Midjourney. You've heard maybe of Stable Diffusion. There's others. There's apps for your iPhone like Lensa. But he likes Midjourney. So he's going to show us actually one of the most important skills, which is prompt creation.
Yes, that's where it always is.
How to tell the thing to do what you want. That's coming up.
People sell those now. They will
Prompts?
sell you prompt books.
Yeah. You can study it in college. Are you kidding?
My. Has that kicked off?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's college courses to do that.
I should sign up to be a professor that teaches prompts.
Prompt design. It's a very wonderful thing, prompt design. All right, I want to go to Maine. And our good friend Mikah, who was a regular on the Tech Guy show for a long time, he is and you know him as well. I know he is a airplane fanatic. Mm-hmm. He does an airplane podcast, and we've seen him many times. Micah, hello.
Hey. It's great to be able to be here with my other favorite Micah.
To see
you know what? We've never seen Micah from Maine. We've only heard him. So now we got him. And I can see
Welcome to the show.
And he's outstanding in his field. Actually,
Well, I am because it finally warmed up here. You know, it was minus 18 degrees the other day, but it's up to 33 now. So
that's why I wanted to have you on. Oh my gosh, you're having a heat wave. I wanted to have you on because it was an Arctic cold snap in New England, and it was the coldest it's ever been in the continental United States in New Hampshire next door. So I was wondering how you were doing up there. So.
We were doing fine, but one of the things that's very interesting is, there's a big push for everybody to move to high-efficiency heat pumps.
Yes.
But, heat pumps don't really heat very well when it gets below zero. Oh. And they can work down to, about -5, -10, unless you get very, very expensive ones. And it was minus 18 the other day. I had friends texting me saying, we don't have any heat.
Can we come over?
And then they turned on their propane heater, their backup propane heat. And at that temperature, the propane freezes so that you're not getting any vaporization. So it's
pot-bellied stove,
difficult.
baby. Get them wood.
There we go.
Split it, put it in that pot-bellied stove, get that roaring. I lived in a house for a long time in Petaluma here that didn't have central heat. It only had a wood-burning stove. And we stayed warm, one stove downstairs. We sometimes would huddle around it. Of course, it never gets to 18 below in Petaluma. I'm glad you survived.
Very rarely.
I'm glad you survived. Hey, I want to ask a couple of questions because I know you. And tell us the name of your podcast again so we can.
Oh, actually, I can tell you about two of them. The main one is the Airplane Geeks podcast. It's been going on for about 14 years. We have well over 750 episodes happening, nice. And we record every Monday night, and it comes out every Wednesday. And always reasonably technical, but always geared to anyone that wants to listen. And very, very popular podcast, probably the longest running aviation podcast out there. And then the new one that I've been doing for about a year with my good friend Passanina Bryan, the former associate producer of the Airplane Geeks, is called The Journey is the Reward podcast. Ooh. And we actually wrote an article for Johnny about this. Brian has been working to get his lifetime 1K status with United. That's 3 million miles in the seat, and he's 60,000 miles away. Right now he's in Tel Aviv. He's been flying back and forth for about the past 18 months, and he ought to should have it completed sometime next month. He ought to be hitting that status. And that's been a fun podcast, a lot more loose with a lot of travel tips and just a good time.
Now, do you cover balloons on the Airplane Geek?
It's funny you should mention that. We do. And, it took a while to get this balloon down because you can't really just take it down with just, some orangutan with a pea shooter. It's really something that's very, very difficult.
Fortunately, we have pretty good air-to-air missiles.
Well, we do, but missiles work on radar, and a balloon doesn't have much of a radar signature.
There's no profile, yeah.
So you've got to be able to really get the missile directly into the balloon, which is what we actually did.
One shot. It was a beautiful shot.
Oh, yeah. Very well planned.
Yeah.
They also had to use the F-22 Raptor because a balloon was up at 70,000 feet.
Very high, yeah.
And exactly.
Yeah.
And the F-22 can hit 65,000 feet. That's its top range in terms of what's published. But you couldn't just use a standard F-16. And you can't shoot it down. This is something that they tried to do in Canada a few years ago when a weather balloon kind of went awry. And an F-16, because it wasn't quite that high, shot 1,000 rounds into it, and it just kind of drifted around,
Well, what kind of missile did they use then? They must have used a.
Well, the missile just, there was no armed warhead on it. It went right in there and
just popped it.
Just basically popped it, but it was big enough so that it was a huge pop and brought it down over the ocean, so it wasn't going to, hit anybody.
So there was no armaments on it. It was just a projectable, basically.
Yeah, I mean, you can find videos of it, and we've watched them, and you can see there's no explosion.
Right.
Yeah, there's no explosion. It's just,
Yeah.
Took
Now,
it right down.
does the Raptor pilot get to paint an outline of a balloon on his plane now?
Yeah. That's a good question. We were, a bunch of us were asking that, and I suspect so. Although it wasn't necessary, it wasn't combat, and I don't know.
Is it a kill?
I don't know if it's considered a kill. It's an interesting question, and I can't wait to find out about it. I wish I could interview that Raptor pilot to be able to talk to him about what the experience was and what the planning that went into it. But I also suspect we won't really ever find out.
No, it's a little secret.
That.
In fact, I did hear from. On Reddit, I read somebody said, those Raptors have a anti-radar paint coating on them that is very sensitive, so they don't get to actually paint outlines of kills.
And they are amazing aircraft. They are so maneuverable.
Yeah.
They can fly sideways. They can go at angles that are just unbelievable. Just kind of along like that, and because of their maneuverability,
such a funny
I've seen them do
juxtaposition of 1950s surveillance technology.
Yeah, with this
a balloon with 21st century aviation technology, fighter technology.
Well, it's not just surveillance necessarily. The Japanese, when we were during World War II, they had a program called Fugo, and the Fugo was setting up balloons to drop incendiary devices over the U.S. forests. And so this is it's a pretty interesting concept. Now, I really think the reason that it took the Air Force so long to get this down is because really this was a Chinese piñata that was filled with egg rolls, and they just needed to buy up a whole bunch of duck sauce and mustard. I think that's what it was.
I wish it had been. That sounds delicious. I'm ready for lunch. I'm very curious. It may be that we'll never know because it'll be classified what the payload was on that balloon. We may never know what it was. But it sure got the attention of America. It was the #1 story on every news network, every newspaper. It's good. I guess it's something we can follow. And, as long as it doesn't get us going to war with China, I'm okay with that.
I hope that it doesn't, because if the Chinese want to see something, they're looking through their satellites anyway. So I don't know what this was all about.
Satellites looking right up. I mean, it's high. They're much higher up, but they got pretty good optics on those things. I think they probably have as much information as they need.
The other great joke I heard about it is that somebody needs to write a bunch of Chinese school kids and say, very, very sorry about shooting down your weather balloon. Next time you should study geopolitical situations before you launch them, But,
well, it's hard to control a balloon, and it could well be that they launched it and then it got in the jet stream and a few days.
And there's one someplace down in Latin, South America right now as well. There were two of them. So we'll learn more, I'm sure, as it goes along.
The other story I want to ask you about: the last 747 rolled off the assembly line. It's
purchased by Atlas Air, a wonderful, huge cargo company. I have a friend that's probably going to be flying it sometime soon.
Oh, how cool!
And he used to fly 747s.
I loved flying in 747s.
Very, very comfortable, beautiful aircraft. Yep. But they're a 4-engine aircraft just isn't really that necessary any longer. So the 747 and the A380 will both eventually be going out of service. But as a cargo aircraft, nothing can beat the 747, and we'll be seeing them fly for a long, long time.
It's expensive to run 4 engines, with fuel costs being what they are. Most jets now are 2 engines. Is that right?
Yeah, all passenger jets are 2 engines, with the exception that there were, the 727, the DC-10, the L-1011 were tri-jets.
I remember, they had the tail jet, right?
Yeah. Right. Right, but now everything that's being made is twin engine, and it works since they developed twin engines that can operate for such a long time with ETOPS, extended range over the ocean, so that they didn't need those extra engines to keep it going. So,
well, Micah, did you have a question? I'm taking advantage of our aviation expert, but you could take advantage of us if you want.
Well, I wanted to actually tell you a very sad but also a very funny story, offering it kind of as a tip to listeners, because you know how difficult it is to cancel a cable subscription with Xfinity or
Yes.
or whoever, Charter, whoever it happens to be. I had a horrible thing happen that my aunt, the last of my mother's generation, finally passed on Monday.
I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you. It's very sad.
How old was she?
She was very young from my perspective. She was 85.
Yeah,
and,
that's too young.
That's young.
The older
these
I
days.
get, the younger 85 starts to look. Absolutely.
Yeah, very true. And we used to also call her. She was a young hot aunt, if you know what I mean. She was great. And that's what I referred to her up until her dying day, and she loved it. But she would have loved this story too, because she passed, and I needed to cancel her Comcast subscription. So I had all her information, and I'm the executor and everything. But I know giving that information out, they're going to cause me a bunch of grief. So I just called up with that information saying that I was her. And I said, I need to cancel my account. And they started.
Did you change your voice at all?
They don't question, I'm not going to say the name, but the name could have been male or female, but that's okay. But anyway, so I went through it. And even when I don't change my voice, and I've done this in other situations too for my mother, and it's a different name, nobody questions it anymore. There was a time when people did.
Well, lady, you got a pretty deep voice there. No, they're not going to say that. Yeah.
So anyway, and they're going through the whole thing, and they said, well, can't we do anything to help you? We can move it with you. I said, I wish you could move it with me. I said, I'm in the hospice right now, and I'm calling, and the doctor gave me 2 weeks to live. And it's a horrible thing to say, but at that point, the guy said, I'm so sorry. Let me take care of this right away. Worked. And it worked. And I think whenever I need to do this again, that's all I'm going to say. And I feel terrible that I had to do it that way, and I feel bad for the guy. But if that's what they're going to do,
this is where they brought us. This is how far down they brought us. Wow.
I'm laughing about it, but it's sad that it's come to that situation. And that's what you
have to say that just to get them to leave you alone.
Yeah.
We can't get you for your last 2 weeks the all-in-one pack. You should be seeing
right.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to show you something. I don't know if this is real, but I think it is. This is from our Discord, our Club TWiT members. Apparently, that last 747 flew a pattern as it flew away from Seattle, Washington, the Boeing plant where it was made. That was a 747 and then a crown.
And do you know why it's a crown?
Why?
Because the 747 is known as the Queen of the Skies.
That's amazing. That is now, it's a pretty big area that they covered, but still over the state of Washington. That's amazing they were able to do that. That's quite maneuverable.
This kind of thing goes on every time. Sometimes it's beautiful drawings like this. Sometimes it's drawings you would not put on your show.
Pilots, knock it off. So this is from Flight Radar 24. So I have to think that this is accurate.
It definitely happened. There's no doubt that it happened. And
it's amazing.
What's wonderful is that Atlas Airlines obviously chose to do this to celebrate their last delivery. And, it's not a cheap thing to do, flying 4 engines in a pattern like that on their way to Cincinnati.
Yeah. Micah, always a great pleasure. I'm so glad that you found your way to the New Tech Guy show, the Ask the Tech Guys show, and I hope you'll come back and visit us often.
Well, it's a great show, and it's wonderful to hear you both, and it's coming out just wonderful. You're doing a great job, and I really enjoy it, and it's so nice not to have all the breaks that you used to have.
Yeah, 19 minutes of commercials, although it's a little weird for us because we gotta keep going. There's no pacing at all.
I get it. I've done radio. I've had to put on the first side of all thing of rather the
Nights
Who,
in white satin.
Yeah, exactly.
Never. And then you go, you got a whole album side. You go out, and of course, I did this very memorably in my mind anyway, when I used to work at a radio station in San Francisco called KLOK. I walked out the door, and as many stations do, ours included, the bathroom's on the other side of a one-way locking door, so that people can't get into the studio, just as we have a shared bathroom. And I went out the door, and the door locked, and I'm listening to Nights in White Satin, coming to the end. Fortunately, there was somebody in the station when I pounded on the door who let me in, but I could just imagine.
There are great stories about that, including records skipping.
Yeah.
And because remember back then, records, there's nothing you can do. You're not there.
I got so bored as a DJ that I would wander the station all the time because I was so bored. And inevitably, the song's coming to an end. I am racing back to get in the studio to start the next song.
And sometimes you forget to have the other record queued up. And so, it's coming to the end and you're trying to queue up the other one and you're doing your backslip. People don't even understand what that is,
Oh, we did.
Both of us.
Yep.
Yep. And you probably also used to edit with a razor blade in your hand.
Sure did, and tape and a grease pencil.
Yeah.
Micah, do you still have
fun.
radio dreams, bad dreams of that kind?
Oh my God, I don't even want to go into it.
I still do. I will. Yeah. My headphones are all tangled up all around me. The song is running out. I can't queue up the next record. It's funny how that gets in your head. It's such a source of anxiety.
Right. You're the only one on the station. It's 3:00 in the morning.
Exactly.
Oh God.
Exactly.
Horrible.
Micah, pleasure. Have a great day.
Great talking with you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Let us give ourselves a little time out. What do you say?
I like it.
And hear from, actually, before we do that, I want to do the ad. And then we are going to hear from Alex Lindsay, who is going to show us, he's put together a fabulous video on how to do your own artificial intelligence images. It's really cool.
So cool.
But first, let's talk about our mattress.
I love it.
He's got it. I got it. Aunt, you have one now. We're talking about the 8 Sleep, which is the most exciting innovation in sleep since the invention of the nightcap. I mean, this is incredible. Good sleep, of course, nature's gentle nurse, the ultimate game changer. The pod cover, it's the ultimate sleep machine. Now, I know a lot of us like to track our sleep, so this is a great sleep tracker. It's in the mattress. You don't have to wear anything to bed. You don't have to do anything. It'll keep track of your sleep, but it's doing more than that. The 8 Sleep pod cover works all night long to improve your sleep, so you don't have to even think about it. It fits on any mattress and allows you to adjust the temperature of your sleeping environment. In fact, it'll even do it for you to give you the optimal temperature for the best night's sleep. The pod cover has dual zone temperature control. Lisa likes it much warmer than I do, so each of us sets this temperature for our bed. It can go as cool, and this is great in the summer. Our Australian listeners will love this, as cool as 55 degrees, which is refreshing. You know that you know how that feeling when you flip over the pillow and it's cold, or you find a new corner of the bed and you stick your foot there and it's cool? That's what this is like. The whole bed's like that. It's so nice. But if it's a cold winter's night, if it's Micah in Maine and it's Arctic temperatures outside, as hot as 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'll tell you what, that is so cozy. The only negative is you may never get up. You may just say, I'm going to stay in bed for a while now. Do you mind? It's based on your biometrics, your environment, the room temperature, your sleep stages. So it makes these adjustments. It turns out evolutionarily, Micah, you probably confirmed this. You did a sleep podcast for years.
Yes.
I think this is my thought that, we're in the cave. We got the fire. Caveman, right? And so it's warm, so we're going to get in bed. But the fire burns down. You bank the fire at night, so it gets cooler. So it's warm when you get in bed, but then you go into a deeper sleep as it gets cooler. And in the morning, the sun comes out and you get up and it's a brand new day. There's a natural cycle to the temperatures, and that cooler temperature brings you into a deeper sleep. Am I right?
You are because modern humans have been around for about 200,000 years, but only in the last 6,000
have we been sleeping inside.
Have we been sleeping inside?
Yeah.
So when you think about it like that, of course, the sleep-wake cycle is going to be completely dependent on the sun and the heat that comes from the sun versus the coolness at night. It all lines up.
And there's a lot of studies that show this. With the 8 Sleep, you'll actually get more deep sleep, and that makes all the difference. That's the sleep that's cleaning your brain out.
Restorative.
Consistent good sleep can help reduce the risk of serious health issues, heart disease, lower blood pressure. It can even reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. It also gets you to sleep faster. Man, when I get in that bed, I tell you what, it is so cozy, and it keeps you asleep longer, and it saves you money because you don't have to worry about heating the house or cooling the house at night. It's much better to do it in the bed itself, right? I just love our 8 Sleep. So does Lisa. I guess you do too, Micah. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You like your 8 Sleep?
Oh, so much. So much.
Ant, are you happy with your 8 Sleep? Lord, yes. Lord, yes, he says. Hallelujah. Praise the 8 Sleep. Go to 8sleep.com/twit. Save $150 at checkout on the pod cover. 8 Sleep currently ships, yes, to Australia, where it's a hot summer, or the U.S. and Canada, where it's a little chilly right now. The U.K., it's cold. Some countries in the EU as well. 8 Sleep, EIGHTSLEEP, 8sleep.com/twit. Get that good night's sleep you deserve. It is a life changer. The only negative, and I got to tell you this, when you travel and you're in a hotel and the bed doesn't get warmer and colder, you go, what is this? Am I an animal? This is... So hotels, start getting those 8 Sleeps. I got to tell you, that's the only negative is you're totally spoiled. 8sleep.com/twit. We thank him so much for supporting the show. All right. We got so many calls. I want to get to everybody, but let's see. All right. Maybe we do one more call.
Okay. Let's
before
do a call,
we go to Alex. There's so many great people with their hands up here. Let's see. Jeff's has had his hand up for the longest time. So Jeff, I'm going to move you in. I don't think Jeff... Oh, he did. He has video. He just had it turned off. And he's in a beautiful library.
Wow. Right in the room.
Gorgeous room. Jeff, welcome to Ask the Tech Guys. Turn on your... unmute your microphone so we can hear you. There he is.
The perennial mic muting problem.
Every Zoom call begins with that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where are you?
So I'm in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, just outside of Albuquerque.
You don't have to worry about cold weather, right?
Not usually, although it's high desert here. It's actually about 5,200 feet where I live. So it's sometimes it gets pretty cold. Sometimes you get a lot of snow and ice.
Oh, all right.
Not today, though. It's perfectly clear, and my solar panels outside are just sucking up the juice.
Nice.
Now, you look like you're in a library, but I think this is your own library, yes?
Yes, that's my home office.
There's a book lover, right?
Portion of my collection back there. Yeah.
I got to warn you, I always read people's books over their shoulder. Obviously, a sci-fi fan.
Oh, yeah. Got the Neil Stephenson up there and Ted Williams. I got the whole Asterix book collection.
Oh, wow. And I see the Folger Shakespeare, complete Shakespeare, but what are the magazines
wrong way.
next to that? What are those?
Oh, those white books, those are the Asterix books.
Oh, the
in
comics.
French.
Oh, yes.
My wife is French, and I'm trying to learn how to speak it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid and we went to France. I think they're Are they Belgian or are they French?
I think one of the two original creators was Belgian. But they're definitely written in French.
Oh, yeah.
And
I love them.
It's not too easy for somebody who's trying to learn French at my somewhat advanced age, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, they're great comics. I love Asterix.
Oh, they're hysterical.
Yeah. He's a Viking, right? Or
he was a Gaul.
Gaul.
One of the
right.
Irreductible Gaul in facing off against Julius Caesar.
I love it. What can we do for you, Jeff?
Well, first I wanted to thank you for many years of listening pleasure, and also to mention I actually saw you in person at the 2002 CES, where you presented the company I was working for the Best in Show Award.
Oh.
And I have my little
look
award
at that, for Tech TV
still.
What was the company?
For Tech TV. The company was Moxie, which you may remember. It was one of Steve Perlman's companies. And I actually accompanied him on the demo videos or demos to investors and so on to keep the machinery going when we were in prototype phase.
That is awesome.
Yeah. I worked in the Valley for about 30 years, and I've been living in Rio Rancho for the last 3.
So what did Moxie's, I think, gone, yes?
Yes, it was bought by Digio, by Paul Allen's company. And by the way, I worked with Father Robert's sister Melanie at Digio, which nice. There are all kinds of interesting connections back to you guys. But the reason I'm calling you today is because you guys were talking about Daniel Suarez the other day, and yes. As a big reader, of course, I've read his stuff, but I was actually turned on to him by you listening to one of your podcasts back in the day when I was working at AdBright, and listening to him and his backstory, and just being reminded of that today, I wanted to let you know that you and he actually inspired me to write a science fiction novel, which I hope is my first.
Oh, congratulations!
Oh my goodness!
Thanks. It's been published for a long time, but I really, I don't know anything about marketing, so getting it out there and actually getting it in front of people has been difficult.
Always the challenge for creatives. Is figuring, because creatives tend not to be good at promotion, right?
That is true in my case.
We're artists. So I married somebody who could make TWiT what it is today, right?
I think, it's a new wave thing of a creative also being their own marketer.
It's very hard to do. And, Daniel will be the first to say that his wife, Michelle, is his promoter, right? And I think it really takes that, because you're focused on writing and you're not focused on how to get the word out and the publishing and all that stuff. It's nice to get somebody to help you out on that.
What's your book called?
It's very difficult. It's called The Prometheus Option, and it's available on Kindle and on Amazon, and you can actually get it in paperback. It's a big paperback, 220,000 words, and it's a high-tech science fiction techno-thriller. It's set in the Bay Area. And it's still pretty current, even though I published it in 2016. So I'd be very happy if you guys would let me send you a box of free autographed books.
Oh, that'd be great.
And see if you guys would enjoy them.
All right, sure. Don't send too many, but I think a few would be great. A riveting, relentless, action-packed, high-tech thriller in the tradition of Tom Clancy and Neil Stephenson. I can't wait to read it.
Yep, I've added it to my Kindle.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think.
It is also
hopefully
apparently free on the Apple Bookstore if you want to download
Not
it.
free anymore. I need to
anymore?
update that website.
Okay. Update that. That's exciting. I do want to read it. And I love the idea that it's in the Bay Area. That's great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So here's my problem. I'm a tech geek. I'm very deep in technology, but the thing that absolutely eludes me and kills me is Siri suggestions on CarPlay. So this is just the most maddening technology in the universe. So here's what I did. Thank you, Mikah, for turning me on to Homebridge, which I use to connect my Vivint security system to my Apple HomeKit environment.
Yeah, context for folks who don't know, Homebridge is a way for you to take your HomeKit, well, actually, devices that don't typically work with HomeKit, the smart home, and actually use those devices with your HomeKit setup. Continue.
Yeah. It works well. I can see video. I can open and close the garage doors, and that's the real point. I'm trying to automate the opening and closing of the garage doors when I get to my house. So we have a
just out of curiosity,
garage.
Can you say, Siri, open the pod bay doors, Siri, and then the garage would open? That would be awesome.
If you call them that.
Now I can do that. I can do that, but the problem is I'm very frequently talking or being talked to by somebody in the car with me at the time.
Yeah.
So pausing to do a voice prompt is...
It didn't take long for my kids to figure out that if I were talking to one of the assistants, they could start jumping in and getting it to do all sorts of things. And especially if you're in the car. Yeah. Don't make me pull this car over. Yeah, if you're talking, it's hard to use Siri,
My workaround for that was to use the Apple Watch, and I just used my shortcuts on that. But I don't want to take my hands off the wheel. So I have this, I have an older car. It's a 2015 Infiniti Q70 hybrid, and it has a touch screen, and I got an aftermarket Unavi CarPlay module, which is pretty cool. It works very well. The problem is when I get close to home and the Siri suggestion comes up, Siri has decided that the only garage door that I ever care about opening is my small garage door.
Oh, no.
That's where I have my workshop. And so it just always comes up with small garage doors.
So annoying.
What I have to do, I have to stop and pull over and tell it verbally, or open the phone and tell it I'm not driving, and then open the large garage door, and then sometimes it will stick. So the next time I get in the car, when the little Siri suggestion pops up, it shows me close or open big garage door, which is great. And under iOS 15, it was totally unstable. It would sometimes show up, it would sometimes stop, it would show up when I leave, it wouldn't show up when I came back. iOS 16, I hoped, had fixed this, and they did in some kind of weird hacky way. So when you get home, or when you turn the car on and the CarPlay module starts up, you can see this little card pop up in front of the closed small garage door Siri suggestion in the lower right-hand corner. It's clear that it wants to do the small garage door. It says, well, I really want a small garage door as the door. I love that door. So the big garage door button pops up after a while. Sometimes it's immediately, sometimes it's after 5 or 10 seconds. Sometimes it's long enough for me to start cursing, enough to ionize the air inside the car. But eventually I get
now,
out
but I'm sure when it happens, it's not. Yeah.
It's crazy. So I just wondered, is there any way to flush the brain of Siri so that it just forgets about that small garage door?
You essentially want it to be suggesting the other one as opposed to it. So I'm curious, have you ever tried tapping and holding on that pop-up, that suggestion that comes up, to see if you get any context menu? Because
it might give you a choice,
like a training where you say, stop suggesting this one.
No.
And then instead have that. So that's something to try. I can't, I'm not for sure if that will work. But what you can do to flush the machine is you go into your Siri settings on your phone, and in there you've got, and I'm reading along with this, the show suggestion, show recents, and then you've got a bunch of different options to say show here, show here, show here, show here. And for some folks, it seems like toggling those off and then restarting the phone and then toggling them on again would, it's kind of like clearing out your spotlight index.
Yeah.
But
I've done that.
Okay, so
it did not persist, unfortunately. It immediately prompted me with the small garage door again, and then for a while it took it, and then I have noticed that sometimes restarting the phone from power off situation sometimes helps that problem, but it doesn't always help.
There's another setting that I do want to mention. So on your main settings page, you can scroll down until you find the Home app in that main settings page. And there you've got the option to actually have Siri suggest for the app. So let me find the exact word. Okay, so you probably toggled that off as well.
I've gone into there and I turned it off and on, and I actually turned it off, repowered the phone, turned it back on, thinking maybe that would help flush it.
I just want to point out, this is not an unusual problem. There's an entire Reddit thread, which Scooter X has found. Just wondering if anyone has iOS 6 beta with multiple HomeKit garage doors has seen an improvement in how it's managed. Or is there an option to set a preferred door, to which the #1 comment is, I pray they have addressed this. I think there is, it appears, according to cat2 dev null, which is actually a useful Unix command, it appears it will present the door that was most recently opened through HomeKit or Siri. If you're driving home and it presents the wrong door, you can ask Siri to open the correct one by voice. Pretty crude workaround. The same person said, I tried to log this as a bug, but the ticket was closed because it's a feature, not a bug.
Oh, boy.
It's a bug.
It's a bug.
It's a bug.
Now, of course, you can remove that small door, but you probably don't want to do that.
Yeah, you still want to be able to control that one.
That's how I would fix it.
You meant just remove it from HomeKit, not just get rid of it altogether.
Don't take the door out, but just turn off that feature. How did you pair it to the door? You must have do you have a MyQ or you have a smart garage door?
The Vivint security system has, it just automatically came in as part of the devices that are controlled by that.
And HomeKit saw it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So there was
even
no
identified
training
the
involved
device
or anything like that. It just knew.
Yeah, and then it automatically suggests it. So yes, it's sounding like, depending on which one you last opened, that's what they're doing. It would be nice. I will also submit some feedback. Just, people continue to submit feedback and say, hey, we should be able to set a preferred garage door. It's if it was alphabetical, then you could just call it a garage door and garage door, but it's not.
It's not. Just the last one you used.
Yeah, that at least is what they were claiming based on what they've looked up. So I imagine that you are regularly using HomeKit to have the other garage door open.
No, I only ever open the big garage door.
Oh.
Only ever the big garage door.
Did this get worse with iOS 16? Because that's what this Reddit thread seems to imply, that it was working and then it got broken with iOS 16.
No, it seemed like, oddly enough, in my case, it seemed like it was worse before.
It was
and then
worse.
when iOS 16 came out, it came out. Now, of course, 16.3 just came out. I installed that, and then all of a sudden, it's bogus again.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you're never using it to open the
I'd
small
take it
garage
away.
door, I would just remove
it.
that one from the HomeKit setup.
There
yeah,
does,
I probably
not
could do
there
that.
does
That's
just to confirm,
frustrating.
though, there doesn't seem to be any way to tell Siri, no, please always default to the big garage door.
Yeah,
It's just,
that's too bad.
yeah, I mean, this thread, we'll put a link in the show notes. Thank you for finding this Scooter X in our IRC.
Yeah, thanks, Scooter. By the way, I'm a geezer nerd in the
that's you.
Discord.
That's
That's
you.
a great,
Geezer nerd.
great handle.
I'm going to join this CarPlay subreddit because, in fact, everybody who uses CarPlay probably should. This is, I have to say, Reddit is really great for this kind of tech support, this user support, because,
It is.
yeah, we're all in
Other
there
people,
suffering together.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's more fun to talk to you guys.
Yeah, I'm really glad you called. I'm sorry we didn't have a
please.
solution, but
Yes.
it is possible that somebody listening has a solution. So,
And I might know a few folks on the HomeKit team.
oh,
Chat up and say,
That'd be
"Oh,
great.
this is something."
Maybe you could suggest to them. Maybe you could suggest to them. Can we get an app that just lets you put your shortcuts in there as buttons? Because I'd
Right.
love to have that.
oh, wouldn't that be nice?
You know, yeah.
It's-
Because I'm
it's-
driving up to my huge estate, I got to be able to open gate 1 and gate 2.
Make the fountain start spraying.
Turn
That's
the
right.
chocolate fountain on.
Yeah.
Prepare the rotating bed. Good. Yeah, I think this is to me a common complaint these days is that Apple seems to have almost abandoned HomeKit. That they're not moving it. At the time when they announced it, we thought this is going to be revolutionary for home automation. It just hasn't moved along in the way it ought to, I think.
There's still a lot of.
I'm impressed though. You've got so much automated, Jeff. That's
Yeah, I think now it's Quibbles mostly though. I think it's a pretty robust
it's
platform.
quibbles and bits.
Yes, Quibbles and bits. Exactly.
Quibbles and bits, so am I. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
And I'm going to definitely look for your book. Thank you. That's really awesome.
Well, I'd be happy to send you guys a box.
You don't have to
So,
send a box. A couple.
Aunt
wants one. Michael
I would
wants
love to
one.
have one. Yes,
that'll
absolutely.
be plenty. Hey, thank you. Well,
Cool.
John will want one too. John's a massive sci-fi geek. Before we run out of time, I think we better thank Alex Lindsay for doing this video. He is. I've been begging him. He's been showing us at the end of every MacBreak Weekly amazing images that he generates with his artificial intelligence. He's become quite adept at it. And I said, it would be really great if you could give us a tutorial on Ask the Tech Guys. Watch.
Hey, everybody. This is a quick overview of how to get started in Midjourney. The first thing to do is go to midjourney.com, and you'll see this option here. You can join beta, sign in. The one you want is join beta, and if you click on that and you have Discord, this will all happen very quickly. It'll say, I'm going to it, and you'll be in the Discord app, right into the community. I might ask you to join there the first time you do it. The community is the first place to start, and what you can do is you can sign up. You can sign up with and do a trial. So you'll see trial support. So it'll explain how to do that and what's actually going on. You want to start with, some of the rules, the FAQ. These are going to explain how you get started. One thing to remember is that and here's the getting started. And this is really good. You just start typing Imagine, and you're going to get up to, I believe, 25 of these that you can start with. So you can do these for free. And what you're going to do is go into the newbies area here, and you can sign up and start to put in descriptions, and you'll see outputs, and you'll see other people's outputs as well. Now, I wouldn't just immediately start doing this. This is how you burn up your free versions of it. So don't start here. What you want to do is go down here, and you'll see general down here, as well as some of the themed image generation. And in here, you're going to start to see people doing stuff. And what you want to do is start looking at what they're doing here and searching and really paying attention to it. So you look at, generally it's the most important subject starts at the beginning, and then a modifier, and then another less important modifier is kind of how most of these go. The thing you see here a lot is AR. That's -- AR 2 to 3, which means that they want the aspect ratio to be there. And by the way, this little things like spaces make a difference. Like, I'm not sure if this one actually, this one didn't work. See how these are square and they hit AR? It's because they left a space right there. So you got to really pay attention to the nomenclature of what people are doing here and what results they're getting, out of this piece. But you can take a look at what they're typing in, and take a look at what they got. And there's hundreds or thousands of these. Some people put in an enormous amount of data in here. I don't know if all of it matters. I will tell you, I don't know if all of that matters. But they put a lot of it in and they get a result that they expected out of here. And some folks are producing incredible results there. But study these things and figure out and look at what they're putting in, look at what the options are in these areas. And so the aspect ratio is the one I use the most. I use 16:9 or 3:2, mostly so that they look nice on a screen. So that's what I pay attention to. But you can go through and look at a lot of these and just to see what you like. And a lot of this is almost a mood board of things that you think are cool, and then look at what they did to get those. And there are lots of them to look at. So spend a little time doing that, then go back up to newbie and try your own. And all you have to do is hit imagine. And then when you see prompt, you start to type in what you want there. Now, I'm not going to bother to do that because I have my own bot. So once you decide you want to do this, you can sign up for your own bot. And once you've done that, you get your own bot here. So if I go to my bot, that's the community. So this is my bot here. So these are obviously woodchucks chucking wood. I don't really know. It looks more like they're cutting wood here or planning to chuck wood. I'm not really sure exactly what's going on, but what you can see here is that I did I just gave it a basic prompt. I have an aspect ratio. So let's talk about how this actually works. So you go imagine, and then you can say, imagine Leo Laporte flying a red dragon. And then you can put in something like glam lighting. And we'll do AR. That's aspect ratio 16:9. And we'll hit go. Now what I have here is I have Leo flying a red dragon, and I can decide that I like those. If I hit this button here, it's going to just redo it all. If I hit one of these top buttons here, it's going to upscale it. So if I want to see a larger version of Leo here riding this dragon, or I pick one of these ones that I want to have him ride, I can hit this, and what that's going to do is start to do what's called an upscale. And so that's going to start upscaling and make a larger version of it. I could also say, I just want more versions of that, and click that here. Riding a horse, for some reason holding what looks to be something here. He's having a great time. Leo doesn't have his glasses on. It looks a little like Leo. And of course, you can keep on trying to do these. And again, if you start to reseed them, tell them to do another version of it. And here's 4 slightly different versions of all of those things. And so now it's not going to be totally accurate. It's doing it from a description here. And so this might not have been the best example. You can also do something like, let's say, imagine Leo, you can also do something like grab onto an image. So what I can do is I can actually take an image of, myself, and I can just put it here and load it in. So there's an image of myself, and I can right click on this and say, I want to copy the link. And then I can hit imagine, and I can paste that link in and say, let's try this, riding a red dragon, glam lighting, AR 16:9. So here you can see it took my image, the image that I gave it here, and just started putting me in front of a dragon. Now, why it didn't have me ride it in, I probably needed to say on a dragon. So we'll try again. Imagine me as a Jedi Knight, realistic, in the style of manga, AR 16:9. So here are a couple of versions of this, and you can see kind of on the realistic side, a lot of different looks for me. But taking that initial photo and building them into a certain look and a certain build. And again, if I wanted to see any of those on their own, I can actually just simply go in and say, well, I like this number 3. Give me a high res one, and maybe give me some more looking like that. So that's how that works. That's the basics of it. You can mix and match styles, mix and match looks. But the main thing is that you want to experiment. You want to, a lot of times it's not the first thing. Like DALL-E, mostly it's like the first thing you get is what you get. With Midjourney, you're constantly saying, I want a little bit more of this, or let's try this, or let's go down. You're following the paths. You're going down the paths that you see here of picking new seeds and then scaling up some of them. I scale up a lot of them just to see what they look like at full resolution. And so, but that's the kind of thing. And you'll notice that your seeds will go a lot faster than your up-res currently. So that's how you get started. And the way to get good at this is first to look at what everybody else is doing and then start doing your own. Now, I will admit that if you like it at all, get the basic one. I think there's like $15 a month that you can get started. And then after that, you can keep on going. I do these a lot. So, and you can come up with a lot of, anything that you start to think of, you can start to kind of throw in here and have a lot of fun. So hopefully that gets you started and gets you kind of a sense of how this all works. It's definitely worth checking out now while it's fresh and fun.
You can see that the real skill, thank you, Alex Lindsay, by the way. His stuff is amazing. And I sometimes use it as our album art on MacBreak Weekly. He's one of the hosts of MacBreak Weekly. But you could see that it's really one of those things where you're almost like you're whittling. You could tell he has a lot of patience. I think it's he does it during the show, so I think it's the kind of thing he has off to the side. Fidgeting. And he fidgets with it, and it gets better, and it's really amazing experience. As he pointed out, Midjourney is not free. If after the first few images, you have to pay for it. If you had a really high-powered gaming machine, you could download Stable Diffusion. That's open source and free. And then play with it and do almost, pretty much the same kinds of things. There's a lot of settings. It takes a while to get used to that.
I had no idea you could use an image of yourself with it. I thought that was a advanced feature that was not possible. He's just popping in an image of himself saying, change this one as you want it. I thought I had to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, so that's something I think Midjourney does better than others. Stable Diffusion, you want to have 10 different images and different poses and stuff. It's pretty impressive that Midjourney can do that. He also said you could just use Leo's name because there's enough pictures of me on the internet. That's a risky thing. There's enough pictures of me on the internet that you could use that. Okay. Yeah, I probably want to upload those pictures. Hey, Geezer Nerd, Jeff, when he was on, mentioned our good friend Daniel Suarez. I should mention that Daniel's already been on This Week in Space. They scooped us. He is such a fanatic about space travel and asteroid mining. He really wanted to promote and going to Mars. He really wanted to talk about that in a serious way, a nonfiction way on This Week in Space. So listen to this week's episode of TWiT, twit.tv/TWIS if you want to hear from Daniel. And then February 10th, which is that Friday, Ant? Is that Thursday? Is it Friday? Friday. At 10 a.m. Pacific? No, 11 a.m. Pacific. 11. We're going to do a triangulation with Daniel about the new book and about space and just catching up with Daniel. He's one of our favorite sci-fi authors. He wrote Demon and Freedom TM, and if you haven't read those books yet, start there. Those were his first two books, and then continue. He's got about half a dozen out now, and the latest Critical Mass just came out January 31st. Daniel Suarez will be our guest. If you are in Club Twit, make sure you join us there for it because you'll be able to ask questions directly of Daniel. Otherwise, you can watch it on this show. We're going to have a little clip of it next week. Exciting. And Saturday, if we have time to get it together by Saturday. Otherwise, it'll be the week following. I don't know if the editors will be able to do that. And then we will have the full interview on our our event feed, twit.tv/events, or on Triangulation. That's the interview show I've done for years, weekly. We decided not to do it weekly, but just whenever I have somebody interesting to talk to, and this is definitely somebody interesting to talk to. twit.tv/TRI for more information on that or to watch that. So that'll be fun on Friday. Hey, everybody, it's Leo Laporte, the founder and host of many of the TWiT podcasts. I don't normally talk to you about advertising, but I want to take a moment to do that right now. Our mission statement at TWiT: we're dedicated to building a highly engaged community of tech enthusiasts, that's our audience, and you, I guess, since you're listening, by offering them the knowledge they need to understand and use technology in today's world. To do that, we also create partnerships with trusted brands and make important introductions between them and our audience. It's how we finance our podcasts, but it's also, and our audience tells us this all the time, a part of the service we offer. It's a valued bit of information for our audience members. They want to know about great brands like yours. So can we help you by introducing you to our highly qualified audience? And boy, you get a lot with advertising on the TWiT podcasts. Partnering with TWiT means you're going to get, if I may say so humbly, the gold standard in podcast advertising. And we throw in a lot of valuable services. You get a full service continuity team supporting everything from copywriting to graphic design. I don't think anybody else does this or does this as well as we do. You get ads that are embedded in our content that are unique every time. I read them, our hosts read them. We always over-deliver on impressions. And frankly, we're here to talk about your product. So we really give our listeners a great introduction to what you offer. We've got onboarding services, ad tech with pod sites, that's free for direct clients. We give you a lot of reporting so you know who saw your advertisement. You'll even know how many responded by going to your website. We'll also give you courtesy commercials that you can share across social media and landing pages. We think these are really valuable. People like me and our other hosts talking about your product sincerely and informationally. Those are incredibly valuable. You also get other free goodies, mentions in our weekly newsletter that's sent out to thousands of fans. We give bonus ads to people who buy a significant amount of advertising. You'll get social media promotion too. But let me tell you, we are looking for an advertising partner that's going to be with us long term. Visit twit.tv/advertise. Check out our partner testimonials. Tim Broom, founder of IT Pro TV. They started IT Pro TV in 2013, immediately started advertising with us, and grew that company to a really amazing success. Hundreds of thousands of ongoing customers. They've been on our network for more than 10 years, and they say, and I'll quote Tim, "We would not be where we are today without the TWiT network." That's just one example. Mark McCrary, who's the CEO of Authentic, he was actually one of the first people to buy ads on our network. He's been with us for 16 years. He said, and I'm quoting, "The feedback from many advertisers over those 16 years across a range of product categories is that if ads and podcasts are going to work for a brand, they're going to work on TWiT shows." I'm proud to say that the ads we do over-deliver. They work really well because they're honest. They have integrity. Our audience trusts us, and we say, this is a great product. They believe it. They listen. Our listeners are highly intelligent. They're heavily engaged. They're tech-savvy. They're dedicated to our network. And that's partly because we only work with high-integrity partners that we have thoroughly and personally vetted. I approve every single advertiser on the network. If you're ready to elevate your brand and you've got a great product, I want you to reach out to us. Advertise at twit.tv. So I want you to break out of the advertising norm, grow your brand with host-read, authentic ads on twit.tv. Visit twit.tv/advertise for more details or email us advertise@twit.tv if you're ready to launch your campaign now. A reminder again that we will not be on next Sunday.
Correct.
We'll be on Saturday because of something that's going on Sunday. I don't know what.
Are we allowed to say it these days? Is that still
you can
a
say
thing?
Super Bowl, Super Bowl,
Okay.
Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
What you can't do
3 times, it's going to come right
Super Bowl,
here.
Super Bowl. You can say it as many times as you want. What you can't do is do ads around it or giveaways around it because it's trademarked. But we can say it. Now, if this gets taken down on YouTube because I said Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, I take it all back.
Let's get ready to Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now, you can't do that, by the way. That you can't do. He's trademarked that.
Happy birthday to Super Bowl.
You can do that now.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday is public domain.
Happy birthday is now public domain. Although
Mickey Mouse
in the
yet?
early days of TWiT, for many years, we were very nervous about that because they would call you and say, we want royalties.
Oh boy, the Super Bowl is coming up.
You can't do that.
Darn it.
We got a video question in the email. Let's see that.
Hey, Leo and Mikah. My name is Alan, and I'm from Vancouver, Washington, and I have a question for you. I'm a longtime listener, and I'm still listening to your podcast now that you changed from radio, but I've got a Mac question, so this is probably for Mikah. So, Mikah, I've got a circa 2014 Mac. iMac that I'm needing to replace because it's getting to the point to where it's not going to be updated anymore, although it's still running great. But I am leaning toward a new Mac Mini, and particularly the Pro because it has more outputs on it. But my question actually revolves around the sound. So with my iMac, I am used to the good sound that comes out of that. With the Mac Mini, I know there's not going to be good sound coming out of it. So my question really is, what do you recommend in terms of perhaps a monitor that has great sound with it, or another solution that might revolve around some other external device? So that's what I'm looking for, is just a little advice on if I move to a Mac Mini, what I can hope to do for good sound, because that's important to me.
Yeah, this is a great question because we all have different setups with different sound preferences, and depending on what device you get, you get the whole package, right? And this is not one of those cases.
In the old days,
with
the iMac,
you would get everything built in. Now, I'm going to so I will tell you how I do mine, and I'm going to tell you do not as I do, but as I say, which is listen to Leo in a moment, because
I know what you're going to say.
What I do is I have a studio display that is connected to the Mac Studio. And as much as I like the all-in-one idea, this studio display has given me so much trouble, particularly with the sound. When it works great. But when it doesn't, which is too often, then it is troublesome, and I end up having to restart it and do all this other stuff. So I would recommend going, and I also think it's just a good idea to not have it all built into the one package so that you can update different components and not spend as much if you choose to make those updates. So, Leo, I would imagine you've probably got a good sound
I have much
system.
better solutions than that.
Yeah.
But I understand, if somebody's used to the iMac, they love this idea that they had one thing plugged it into the wall, plugged in the keyboard, or used the wireless keyboard and the mouse, and then it just worked, and you didn't have to do anything else. I don't think the iMac sound was all that good.
No, it wasn't great,
to
but
be
it was
honest.
okay.
And I don't think the studio display sound is all that good, and it's definitely overpriced.
Yes.
I think almost, so it looks like, and nobody's sure, but Apple really implied that this Mac Mini is the replacement for the iMac, that they're not going to make an iMac Pro or a larger screen iMac. I mean, nobody knows what Apple's going to do, but they really showed this new Mac Mini as if it's instead of an iMac. And actually, I prefer it. As you said, I like the idea of having a separate screen, a separate computer. If the computer breaks, you can get that fixed. You don't have to bring the whole thing in. If there's a better display comes out or a better computer comes out, you can upgrade one or the other. So I like separates. It's kind of like the old days of stereos where you would buy a receiver that would do everything, maybe even have a turntable and the lid built in. That's not as good as a component system where you have individual components. And I think it's true for modern sound. You can get good powered speakers, absolutely, that you just plug in to the back of the Mac Mini, either through the headphone jack, or if you wanted, you could get an external device that powered the speakers. I would start looking at Audio Engine speakers. These are very good computer speakers. These are audiophile speakers. They're very good computer speakers. They have little ones that are relatively inexpensive. I have a somewhat larger size, kind of the Audio Engine 5s, with a subwoofer. And now you've got real stereo sound. That could be your stereo coming off of your Mac Mini. I think that's a great choice. Now, I did order something that we're going to review as soon as it comes, I think next week. You know the name Creative Labs? You remember Creative? Yeah. They're still around. They're still around. They used to make the Sound Blaster cards you'd put in your PC. Well, they just released something for computers called the Sound Blaster X5. Now, it's $280. So this is a little bit more expensive solution. But it comes out of the optical out or the USB out of your computer. In fact, if you look at the back of it, you'll see it has a USB connector in the back, as well as outputs, optical in and out, USB in, and it even has these old analog line in, line out, red and green, RCA cables. So that's the back of it, and then you can power decent speakers, very good speakers with it, but it's also a very good DAC. In fact, what they did that's interesting is they have a dual channel DAC. digital to analog converter that takes the bits that come out of the USB or the optical out of your computer, converts them into the analog sound that speakers need. So that's what a DAC is. And this one, each channel, left and right, has its own DAC. Wow. Is that better? I don't know. It's twice as good? I don't know. But I think this is a good company. I think Sound Blaster is a good name. So, look, I took the hit so you didn't have to. I've ordered this. I will. As soon as it comes, I'll be reviewing it for you. And my idea was to hook it up to Lisa's. She's got the Mac Studio, and she has been using headphones. Oh. So I got her some nice speakers. I'm going to set it up with this and some nice speakers so she'll have good sound coming out. Now that she does a podcast, Host Red Ads, podcast all about how we do what we do. I thought she should probably have, since she's editing it and all of that herself, recording it, I thought you need good speakers so you can hear what you're doing. So we'll have this probably next week. They've shipped it, so I'm going to guess I'll have it next week for a review. Now, this is a little bit of a higher-priced solution. This is the Sound Blaster X5 from Creative.com. Let me show you, though, my personal favorite, and I know Scott Wilkinson likes these a lot. With that Sound Blaster, you could run any speakers. You don't need powered speakers. Audio Engine are powered speakers. So the idea is you don't need an amplifier. You don't need anything else. You just hook them up to the back of your computer, and they give you good computer sound. AudioEngine.com. And you see they have these little A2s, which would be really kind of a good choice for computer speakers. It's really, this is the A5, which is what I use. It's really up to you. The larger and more expensive, obviously, is going to sound better. But these are excellent powered speakers that work with computers. Nowadays, they also include Bluetooth, which means you could drive them from your phone or another device. I probably should have gotten these for Lisa since she likes bright red. Might have been a better choice for her instead of having to get the DAC and all of that. But you see there, a pair of speakers, $269, same price as the Creative, but you don't need the Creative. These hook up directly to the back of your computer, and they're powered. Because they're small, there's, they're not going to have a huge amount of bass. So you can also pair, Audio Engine also sells subwoofers. So you can pair a subwoofer with that. I think external sound is going to be a much better choice. But it really does come down to what your ears need.
Exactly.
And if you thought that iMac sounded great,
you're going to see an upgrade in any external, purpose-built speakers.
Just remember that you need powered speakers if you're connecting directly to the computer. If you want to use traditional stereo speakers, I use ELACs in my office that sound really good. Those need an amplifier, and for that, you're going to need something like the Creative, which is both a DAC and an amplifier to drive those. So there are a number of different choices you have. Do you want to do some emails?
Yeah,
do you have some
emails.
Because I want to encourage people. You don't have to just call and sit on hold for 2 hours on our Zoom. You can also email Ask the Tech Guys at twit.tv. We haven't done a lot of emails in the past, but I want to make sure people know that they can and encourage you to use those. And if we have time after we do an email, we'll get to another phone call or two, because Paige and Gary and John and Chris, they're all holding on. And Sal, I see you, Sal, applauding. Yeah, he's wearing his what is that? What is that? Are those the Indians? What is that? And Jeffrey, he's a Texas Rangers guy. Oh no, he's a Tesla. Anyway, there's quite a few guys in there. Hello, everybody. Hello. We'll get to you as best we can. But first, an email.
Yes, you get your Amazon purchase screen loaded up so that you can look back at the answer.
I like to look at my
question.
history, yes.
And the question that is being asked, it comes from David Bernhardt.
Okay.
Or David, who writes, "Hi, Leo and Mikah. Can you tell me about the laptop stands you have in front of you on the show? I've been looking for something better than trying to balance a laptop on my lap or putting the laptop on a desk surface. Are your stands freestanding, and are they adjustable in height and distance from your chair?
We love these.
And do they wobble when you type?
No. And you found them, Micah.
Yeah.
But I bought them, so you're right.
You know where to find them.
But let's give you a demo. I mean, Can you show people how great these are? So they roll. They go up and down.
They've got so many different cranks, so you can choose how you want it.
This one's a dual stand, so you can have a little thing on one side. Can you see that? Well, you can't really see that, but you have a little thing on one side and a separate thing. And let me look these up because
There are lots that are offered on Amazon, but to actually find them is not easy because they get buried under all of the different recommendations.
I don't know how you found these. These are kind of Chinesey, so that means there may be many companies that sell these.
Right, exactly.
These are the Zhuzhong bamboo medical tilt overbed bedside table with caster wheels for elderly patients and home care.
Like us.
But I had told Micah, and you see I bought it on my birthday. What I told Micah is that's what we want. Something that would float over like an arm, so you could have these in bed.
And they lift up, too. We have them pretty low to the ground. But
there's knobs.
There's so many knobs to make adjustments
stuff.
Exactly how you want it.
But we wanted something that wouldn't, be a table in front of us.
Take up
so you could see our socks. and something that was kind of like be an arm, because we have arms on these chairs that would reach over them. So you found them, and they're very nice. It's bamboo. They look good. They're very sturdy.
Mm-hmm. $80.
Not expensive.
Yeah.
So good question. This is the one we got. And I think we should do the show from bed, to be honest. I would if I could. And I love the fact that they have these dual swivel things. Now, it's funny because this picture, they've got it upside down. The stops are at the top. You want the stops, obviously, at the bottom where
I don't know why they've put them at the top.
Whoever took these pictures doesn't really understand what they do. But, I really like these. I think for $80, and they seem pretty sturdy.
Yeah.
Burke put them together, so I don't think that, in fact, he had to drill holes so that the stops would be at the bottom.
That is mine only has holes on one side, though. So.
Oh, yeah, mine. Oh, I know, because mine's a lefty.
That's what it was.
You're a righty.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually left-handed, though. I just don't use it on...
But you're sitting on the right side,
right.
so you want it to come in from the left. Or from the right. Mine comes in from the left.
That's
anyway, that's a long answer to a very simple question. I'm glad you like them. I think... you found them, and I thought we were going to have to go through a dozen of them.
Yeah, I did. That's what I had to look through a lot, and then I came across these and said, "Oh, these look right." We've got another email.
Zhuzhang.
This one comes from John. John says, "I'm traveling to the U.S. I'm coming from Canada, and I don't want to have to pay a $12 roaming fee every day. I've got an old Samsung S8. Is it possible for me to get a U.S. SIM to use?" To make and receive calls.
Sure. You got our sponsor, Mint Mobile. They'll send you a SIM, no charge. You put it in. It won't work in Canada. It's U.S. only. They use the T-Mobile network in U.S. only, but it will work when you come, and they're cheap. There are a lot of other providers like that. There's even one that's Canadian. It's owned by two cows called Ting.
Oh.
And but it's for use in the U.S. I personally like Google Fi. Now, I think Google Fi is not as inexpensive as it used to be, but I think Mint Mobile is a better deal. But Fi also uses T-Mobile and U.S. Cellular. I use them internationally. That's one of the nice things about Fi. It would work and cost the same in Canada as it would in the U.S. And they'll also send you a SIM that you can put. That light goes out at this time every day.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Is it on a timer? Oh, I know why, because nobody's wandered in the hall.
Oh.
Okay, sorry, I got distracted.
Lily, why aren't you out there running around?
So Mint, Ting, Google Fi, all of them, and many others, will send you, and I think they'll send it to Canada. I'm pretty sure Google will, certainly. Otherwise, send it to somebody in the U.S. that you can just pick it up when you come. Paige is in our lovely waiting room. Paige, unmute your mic and say hello to the tech guys.
Hello.
Hello, Paige.
Hi, Paige.
Hi, Micah. Hi, Leo.
Where are you calling from?
Great. Culver City, California.
Did you used to listen to the radio show on KFI?
Yes, absolutely.
Welcome. Well, I'm glad you found your way here. I was worried that we would leave some people in the dust when we moved to podcast only.
Yeah. It's taken some getting used to, but yeah, I'm here.
Yay!
Thank you.
What can we do for you, Paige?
Okay, so I'm getting fiber internet put in.
Ooh, jealous.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Now, I'm trying to figure out which mesh router system to get.
Uh-huh.
And two that I've thought of is the Eero 6 Plus and the Asus Zen Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Now, this is a good question for Micah because he is an Eero customer.
I'm an Eero customer, but yeah. I am curious, what are you using right now before you've gotten the fiber put in? Because that'll give me an idea of kind of what you're used to in terms of making adjustments and changes to the Wi-Fi.
I still have AT&T Uverse cable.
So you're going to lose that because AT&T is going to come. They're going to gather it all up, throw it in a big box, and say, "The heck with you, Paige. Bye."
Yeah.
Okay. So you need it. You need all new gear. And who's providing the fiber?
Ting.
Huh.
Ting.
Huh.
Ting.
Probably not related to Ting Mobile, but okay. Ting.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I can't.
They do have Ting Mobile.
Maybe it is. Huh.
Possibly.
Okay, so they will provide you with an interface to the fiber. Fiber is funny.
A modem.
Yeah. Technically, it's not a modem, but yeah, we'll call it. It's just like your modem. Fiber is funny.
Okay.
There's a variety of ways you can have fiber. You can have fiber to the curb, which means you have to have a box that takes fiber, turns it into Ethernet, or they may actually have Ethernet coming into your house. You know, there's lots of different ways you can implement it, but they're going to provide you with whatever that interface is. Like AT&T, they're going to want to give you a router and that modem device because they can do a lot of things to you that you don't want them to do if they have the router. You do want your own router, I think.
Yeah.
So
that's...
Here's my other suggestion. I've gone to Ting, and I see that they actually, as part of the system, you could get Eero routers for your home.
Oh, then I would
included.
do that.
So I would
totally do that.
And you don't need to, do it through Ting, but because they are kind of optimized for use with Eero, I think it's a good idea to go with the system that
you're
they're
lucky.
using.
So it's in Centennial, Colorado, Charlottesville, Virginia, Culver City, where you are, Encinitas. It's in weird little parts of the world.
Yeah.
That's Roaring Fork, Colorado. Interesting.
Putting the fiber in the street was quite amazing.
Oh, you saw them trenching. Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. That means you got fiber to the curb. That's great.
Yeah, that's going to be lickety
That's what you
split.
want. And what are they costing for? What are you getting and what does it cost?
$89 a month.
Is it gigabit?
Yeah, 1 gigabit.
And is it gigabit symmetric? We call symmetric where it's down and up, or is it slower upstream? It's probably 30 megabits upstream, something like that.
That I'm not sure.
Okay. Good deal. I think that's I think it's a good way to go. Boy, symmetric would be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
Then it's worth $90 is an absolutely great deal for that. The reason being nowadays we upload as much as we download often, right? There's a lot more traffic coming out of the house than there used to be. So it's good to have more bandwidth coming out as well. I would say if they offer Eero, do Eero.
Yep.
The Asus is fine. It's very good. How many square feet are you covering?
It's probably overkill. It's 1,500 square feet, but it's an old house with plaster walls.
Yeah.
Does it have horsehair in the plaster? It's not that old. That would be pretty old. I asked that because somebody once called the radio show that did have lath and plaster walls with horsehair in it. And it turned out those are pretty hard to penetrate for Wi-Fi, as it turns out. Plaster's probably okay. Depends what's in it. Metal is the kiss of death. That's what you don't want. Plaster, though, it could go through. It's not any worse than drywall. 1,500 square feet's a good size. With Eero, you wouldn't need more than a base station and a beacon.
One beacon, yeah.
Yeah.
And I would put it'll help you place it. But when you place it, you're going to put the beacon in on the way to the trouble spot. So there will be some corner of your home that's harder to, get that Wi-Fi than others.
The thing about Eero that I'm concerned about is that it's app only versus having a web interface.
Yeah. That's a fair concern. That has been kind of one of the things that you see a lot of people who use Eero go, can we address this? It's a little bit Apple-y in the behavior in the sense of we're trying to make it as simple as possible. We don't want people to get have it be overcomplicated. And I agree. It is annoying to not have the internet access method to be able to make those changes. But what I've found, even as a power user, I have never needed anything that an internet interface would provide that I can't do from the app. So it has honestly not been an issue for me, but I totally get that hesitation. That's a hesitation that I had as well. It's not come up. And I mean, if you've got, the chops to make all of those adjustments and you're really wanting to dig in and I mean, you can do all of that still. I've opened ports. I've, made adjustments to the way that the IPv6 and all of that kind of stuff is available via the app. But I know that hesitation that folks have because they're going, well, that's just not the way that I'm used to doing things. So if that's so much of a hang up for you, then yes, I think one of the other systems might be great. I just can't provide, that personal recommendation for those because I have had Eero and give Eero to my family as well, just because it's worked so well for me.
Well, that's a great recommendation. Yeah.
The other question would be, do you have hardwired devices? Do you want Ethernet in some places as well?
Yes, but I have a switch.
Oh, good.
That I'm going to.
I use two switches with my Eero. Yeah.
So the switches will give you more ports, but it'll have to be plugged into the base station, right? Does the beacon have Ethernet? No.
So the new ones do.
Oh, the new ones do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you've got an older system where they're the ones that plug directly into the wall, you won't have those extra ports. But yes, the new systems, especially the 6E version you're thinking about, that will have, I believe it's one extra.
6 Plus.
6 Plus. Okay. That will have one extra port on each of those beacons.
So you could put a switch on the beacon. Mm-hmm. Remember, though, that switch is connected via Wi-Fi back to the home base. Right. But if all of the stuff you want wired is near where the base station's going to be, where the fiber optic device is.
I think for the most part,
Then, you could just run wires out of a switch. That'll be fine. I think the Eero is easily the best way to go. One other thing to keep in mind, and I don't know how Ting does it, but normally Mikah pays $99 a year for Eero Plus. Mm-hmm. And that has a lot of nice features, but it's something to know about. It's $100 more a year.
That's the other thing, that the Asus has it included.
Right.
So when you say it has it included, what do you get as part of the you get to do like ad blocking and advanced security features with just Asus's basic system?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Thing is that I think Ting is paying for the Eero Pros, right? They don't they're going to rent them to you. No?
In this case, I decided to buy them.
Oh, okay.
Myself.
So you have a choice, rent or buy. Okay. I don't think the Asus stuff is as good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
Eero really does a good job. I mean, you pay for it, but the ad blocking, the adult. Do you have kids in the house? You want to control their internet access, or
no? Don't need that.
Okay. It does a good job. It has very good parental controls. I think that you may not need the $99 a year.
Yeah.
Because it's going to do most of what the important stuff, the quality of service adjustments. Some people are concerned about Eero because of privacy. That's the other thing. Yeah. The reason they do this through an app is most of it's controlled at the home office, and your traffic goes through the home office. They know what devices you have in your house. They know who's busy and who's not. That's how they do the quality of service adjustments. But if you're a staunch privacy advocate, Eero's probably not a good choice, because Eero does have a window, not into I don't think they see all the traffic, but they do have somewhat of a window into what you've got going in your house. Some people don't like that idea. The Asus would not, unless you subscribe to that additional service, and then Asus would, because that's a requisite of the service.
Okay.
Asus is a Taiwanese company. I think they're very good. I think they make excellent routers. I'm a big fan of them. They're really powerful compared to the Eeros. The Eero really knows that you're going to have beacons so that the base station doesn't have to be quite so powerful. The Asus is really designed to run without beacons, without secondary. You can get them, but you don't have to. It's very powerful. Probably the one you're looking at looks like a spider, right? It has all those antennas, 6 antennas on it.
No, I'm looking at the, it has 2 units. It's a AX6600 XT8.
Okay. The 6
it's in Wi-Fi.
AX means it's 802.11ax. So the Eero would be the more up-to-date 6E, I believe.
Plus.
It's called the 6 Plus, but does it have 6E on it?
No, I don't need 6E.
Okay, yeah, you'd have to have devices that supported it. This has gotten so complicated. It's too bad. If it were me, I'd get the Eero, to be honest with you. It just depends on how geeky you are and how much you want to mess with it. If you really like messing around with it, if you want to do VLANs, some more advanced stuff, the Asus is a better choice. No? Okay.
And then the other thing, though, is apparently with the Eero, there's only, and I'm not 100% sure on this, there's only one SSID, I think, in the...
Yeah, it doesn't separate 5G and 2.4.
That is correct. So, but if you're worried about getting those devices connected that are 2.4 gigahertz, if those devices have modern firmware, if you bought them in the last 3 or 4 years, it's likely that they can figure that out for themselves. If you have any devices that can't figure that out for themselves, it's very easy in the Eero app. You go into the troubleshooting steps, and it lets you temporarily disable that 5 gigahertz network, and that worked for me just fine. There was only one device in my house where I had to plug in. I ended up plugging in an old Apple Airport Extreme in order to get the connection, and that was because I had a printer from 2011 that needed Wi-Fi Direct, which is, or not Wi-Fi Direct, but what's the horrible system where you press the button and then it opens everything up and it's awful and it's bad and no one should ever use it. I can't think of what that's called. But it's this feature that is...
Let's say WPS.
Yeah, that's Wi-Fi protected setup. It essentially like opens things up for a moment so you can make the connection. Anyway, my point is that was the only device that I ever had a problem with. Everything else I could use the troubleshooting steps. So as long as you don't have Wi-Fi protected setup devices in your home, which I don't recommend having anyway, the turning off the 5 gigahertz network temporarily has worked just fine.
Let me just real quickly, the AX6600 you're looking at, is it the mesh one, the Asus Mesh?
Yes.
Okay, so it does have multiple stations. It doesn't have all those spidery antennas. In fact, they look a lot like
little air conditioners or something.
Yeah, I'm honestly not familiar with these. I've used many Asus routers very happily. We've got one in the studio, as a matter of fact. But I haven't tried their mesh solution. They've been, Eero started this whole mesh revolution. And so everybody, including Asus, has had to keep up. I'm very happy with Asus. I don't know if I would say, it really comes down to how much control of it you want. Eero is designed for people who just want to set it and forget it. If that's you, then Eero is a great choice. Either way, you're going to pay roughly the same amount of money. I think you're going to have the same coverage. Asus might be minorly more powerful.
It's probably overkill though.
It depends on who you are. I might actually get. What I ended up doing is going with Ubiquiti.
You went all
which
out.
is crazy. Talk about expensive. But the idea was that I wanted absolute control. I like it that I'm looking at the specs for the Asus. There's no subscription fee. I like that. It looks like it has some pretty nice features. I haven't used it. I'm not familiar with it. I'm familiar with their older gear.
And I will now say this. I've had a friend, and then I watched a video of somebody who was recounting their last year of devices, and they named the things that gave them the most trouble. My friend started with Asus routers and then ended up switching to Eero because he had so much trouble. The person that was in this video that was talking about all the things that failed them, and it was not this Asus router, but it was an Asus router. They ended up switching to Ubiquiti in the end. So I only know of poor experiences that have taken place. So that's why I'm also hesitant to do that. It's not simply because I have Eero and like Eero. It's also because I have heard a couple of people have issues. But again, that's just, it could just be that those two people
Paige, but now you know the way to the show. If you have any problems, call Mikah.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I'd love to help you answer your Eero
I think for most people, Eero is the right answer. Absolutely.
I think you've convinced me. I'm going to go that route, at least initially. I can
let us know.
Change.
And ask Ting if I want to try this for a month. If I don't like it, can I get the Asus instead? Ask them if they have a return policy. Right. And if they do, then that's great. Then I would because every home is different. Wi-Fi is such a black art, and every home is a little bit different. And it may be the Asus would work better in your home. If you have any trouble with the Eero, at least you know you have a backup.
And congratulations on the fiber. That's exciting.
I'm so jealous.
Yes. Ooh.
Thanks, Paige. Yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
Wonderful to have you on the show. I'm glad you found your way here. Hope it wasn't too painful. Bye-bye. We are out of time.
Yes, we are.
Dag nabbit. I wanted to take so many more calls. I apologize to those of you who've been sitting there in the Zoom for all this time, but we will get back next week, and we'll answer this next week. Maybe we have some fun stuff planned. I don't know.
We're doing our best.
We're doing our best to get everybody in, but we also want to give you a good variety of content. Remember, next week, Saturday, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern, 11 to 2 Pacific, 1900 UTC for Ask the Tech Guys. Just for this 1 week because of the Super Bowl. We'll be back on our regular schedule in 2 weeks. Make sure you watch the special triangulation. It's going to be a lot of fun with Daniel Suarez coming up this Friday. Mikah Sargent hosts a wonderful show for iOS fans, along with Rosemary Orchard, iOS Today.
Yes.
That's every Tuesday at
9 a.m. Pacific.
I don't even know what that time is. I've never been there. It's a mystery to me. Right before MacBreak Weekly. He's also on Tech News Weekly every Thursday with Jason Howell. And I love having him here with me because, as you heard, he's doing all the hard work. I'm just sitting here playing. Please join us next week on a Saturday. Please. You can get the show after the fact on the website, twit.tv/ATG. Ask the Tech Guys. There should be 2 T's, but it's too much for us, so we just did ATG.
Yeah.
And you can also get us on YouTube. There's an Ask the... Actually, I think it's still the Tech Guy.
It's Tech Guy Labs.
Tech Guy Labs.
YouTube.com/Tech Guy Labs.
But best thing to do would be subscribe. It's the same feed as the old Tech Guys show. So if you're already getting that, you're already getting Ask the Tech Guys. If not, look in your podcast client for Tech Guy or Tech Guys. It may still be saying Tech Guy, but that's the feed. Subscribe to that. You can still go to techguylabs.com for our show notes. We will put a couple of things there. Scott Wilkinson's great spreadsheet with all of the TV recommendations and prices. That'll be there as soon as we get the show up and running. You also get audio and video right there on the page if you want to go, techguylabs.com. And I bet you will take Alex's little piece and we'll turn that into something for our Twit Bits feed, which is youtube.com/twit. If you are a club member, we'll see you in the club on Friday. If you're not yet a member, please go to twit.tv/clubtwit. $7 a month, but I think it's worth it. No ads on any of our shows, additional shows that we don't put out in public, like Micah's fabulous Hands on Macintosh show, Hands on Windows with expert Paul Thurrott, the Untitled Linux show with Jonathan Bennett, the Giz Fizz with Madman Dick D. Bartolo. There's the Stacy's Book Club. There's a lot of special events. You already did the Win2 DAO on Friday, right, Ann? Or is that coming up this week? That's on Thursday. So Win2 DAO, the host of All About Android, will be in a special Ask Me Anything with Aunt Pruitt, 9 a.m. Thursday morning. We'll do the triangulation interview at 11 a.m. This is Pacific time on Friday. All of that for $7. I think it's a great deal. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Most importantly, it helps us produce more content. It helps us keep the lights on and keep everybody...
Keep my dogs fed.
Happily employed here at Twit. Thank you, Mikah.
Thank you, Leo.
Have a wonderful week. You know what I want you to do one of these days?
What's that?
Show me how to program this button on my watch.
That'll be a great one.
Because I think you could do shortcuts on that.
Yes, you can.
Think of some fun shortcuts we could do.
That'd be great.
Help, I fell down on the ski slope.
I can make sounds, too.
Really?
You can do like a womp, 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 womp.
Oh, that'd be really good. Yeah. Sad trombone. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week on Ask the Tech Guys. Bye-bye.
You want to hear about the latest news happening in the tech world from the people who write the articles, sometimes from the people who are actually making the news? Well, we got a show for you here at twit.tv. It's called Tech News Weekly. Me, Jason Howell, and my co-host Mikah Sargent, we talk with some amazing people each and every Thursday on Tech News Weekly, and we share a little bit of our own insights in each of us bringing a story of the week. That's at twit.tv/TNW. Subscribe right now.